Welcome back to Accounts of the Night Piece. This is episode, gotta get it right, number 2, entitled Missing the Mark. Last episode, the group was set to meet with an individual whose name they didn't know at a establishment on the planet of Brias, specifically the Donny Rainbow, pretty well frequented watering hole in the Malice Fields. That individual was accosted by a hegemonic soldier, specifically a scion of the Justicar, who was intent on bringing that individual to justice, perhaps, to at least be arrested. The group kind of forced into the engagement in my attempt to kind of just get into the rule set. I won't say the best. Wasn't terribly smooth, but we'll do better. They managed to save the guy. It was actually pretty glorious. And they have made it back to their ship and have taken off, exiting Parias, correct? Or are you staying on Parias and just moving to a different location on the planet?
I'm thinking for right now, it might not be a bad idea to, even if we end up returning, at least get in orbit for the time being.
Okay.
So at least have private-esque conversation.
So sublight speed's not a problem if you want to kind of get out of jurisdiction. There are definitely a lot more hegemony ships around Parias and its orbit. So again, it's entirely up to you, but I will state that your guest, upon boarding the ship, has kind of just looked for the closest place to just kind of sit down. I'm sorry, he's actually in the med bay. He's made his way there and has received some assistance, as per last session, from Dr. Veva. Arms are pretty messed up, but nothing. Some stims and some bandaging and some stints won't help over time. He probably won't be able to do articulated kind of motions with his fingers ever again, and his hands will probably shake for the rest of his life, but at least he still has use of them.
Well, good thing he's not a doctor.
That's fair. And yeah, once he's kind of brought back to kind of, normal and not pure agony, he kind of gives Vela a look, appreciative, definitely happy with the situation despite, how it went. So, Zach, you have first rights to communicate with this NPC. And if anybody wants to jump in and enter in, it's an open ship, and you know where you can go. But go ahead, Zach.
So basically, he's just looking at me, and I'm standing there looking at him.
He's sitting on your operating table.
So, Nathan, was it?
Yeah, that's right. And you're the doctor from Mundus.
You seem to be feeling better. Is that correct?
Yep, pretty good. They could have taken They could have taken both my hands, as long as I didn't end up with them. So.
And was there a reason that they were so adamantly after you?
Might have something to do with the job I was going to line up for you. Might have something to do with my background just in general. I don't know.
Fair enough. This job Care to share any details with me?
I mean, yeah, can I guess. The the boss said that you folks are good at finding folks. And,
We have proven quite effective in the past, yes.
well, that's what I'm looking at having done. Um, yeah,
Finding folks or finding a folk?
a specific individual. Yeah, kind of scratches his nose. Are you terribly familiar with the Jane Shen?
Once I check my notes.
Hmm.
Yes, I haven't had much, let's call it direct interaction with them, but I'm aware of the species.
Well, their hierarchy is an interesting one, and it
Much
seems
agree.
it seems that one of their higher ups, the title being Dimitriarch, is set upon meeting with a member from House Hachi, the hegemony or I hate that word, and I've always read it my whole life as one way, and hegemony. Uh, and from what I understand, that they might be planning on taking on more um, civilized society in that part of the system, and that's not terribly good for us raiders. It's not good for a couple of the other factions that are out and about. Um, I mean, you're a Mundushian, so you know how it goes. I mean, second.
To be fair, our society was quite civilized prior to interacting with other species, but I understand the sentiment. Absolutely.
I was saying civilized more in a sarcastic fashion, because the Jane Shin probably are considerably civilized as well. I mean, it took me a week to figure out how to pronounce Dimitriarch. So, there's that. But, someone's... Tim, you gotta turn your hands free off, man.
So, if I'm to understand correctly, you'd like us to intercept this Janjin prior to his meeting with the House Achi?
Raiders aren't that direct. But it seems like the problem is we really don't have much option. It's really up to you how you're going to do it. Just the main thing is that the Dimitriarch and the envoy from the hegemony, they can't meet. So one of them has to get God.
I see. So the specifics are not important, just that the meeting does not occur.
That's the ticket. And then whoever you get, well, the Raiders got plans for them. So we'll pay you for them, and pay you for mission accomplished.
Alive?
Preferably. If you go the hegemonic route, I guess a carcass isn't bad.
Understood. Better a carcass than a failed mission, of course, of course.
Stop smiling sarcastically at the way I pronounce that damn fucking word, Andy. I hate you. Fucking English teacher. Damn it. Damn it. I'm showing my weakness.
John, your game, your rules, and this
We're all
universe
friends here.
would be
Oh,
hegemony.
Andy,
Yeah, you make the grammar.
it's hegemony from now on. You have to pronounce it wrong for the rest of the game.
You can't do that.
No, I can't. It's terrible. Yeah, that's basically it.
Do we, I apologize, do we have any details on this meeting?
Yeah. He looks through his belt, starts kind of fiddling around with it, and then you can see that he looks down at a pocket that's kind of like open, and it looks like he's kind of like, looking through its contents, but there's nothing in there. And it looks like the button had basically kind of like fallen open at some point, and he kind of, oh shit. No, we don't have any details at all. Sorry, my data pad seems to have gotten away from me.
Well, that's incredibly unfortunate.
Well, I guess that's what happens when you start dangling from midair with a massive red furry carpet on your back.
Well, that red furry carpet did protect you from a lot of bullets.
Hey, no complaints here. I'm just stating facts. I'm not stating insults.
The Dimitriarch, does he, she, it have a name?
I believe that he is known as Cipher. Sifford. That's the one.
I see. And do we
And
know
Matt-
specifically with who they're meeting with in House Hachi?
Sorry.
No, we don't know that.
Understood. And I suppose you don't have any details on, how they're traveling, where they're coming from, what part of the sector they'll be traveling from or to.
We could certainly do some reconnaissance. We could probably find out. They're definitely leaving Parias, the envoys, and heading to the moon of Jane Shen, which is one of the moons of the planet Jane.
Yes, I am aware.
He says, I believe there's a space station in orbit around that moon, and that's the main hub of the Jane Shen people.
And will you be accompanying us, or is there somewhere that you would like to be, what's a good word for it, delivered to?
I'll be completely honest. Spacefaring, traveling around, and whatnot never was my never was something I was terribly interested in. Unless it was on like a big capital ship and with a lot of people who might get shot instead of me. In all honesty, price is probably too hot for me right now. If you folks want to drop me off back on Parias, or if you want, there should be a stop amidst the way in the belt that should be capable of picking me up, taking me away.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to reconvene with the rest of my crew. I appreciate your openness with all of the details that I've had so far. You are more than welcome to rest right here on the medical bay, or I can find you another place on the ship that might be more suitable. It's your preference. There's no one currently using the operating table for their resting place, so you're welcome to. I can make the environment much more pleasing and comfortable for now. And if I have more questions, return here. Is that acceptable with you?
Yeah, more than. Great. Yeah, no problem.
Absolutely. You see him like fiddle around with some stuff on the computer. The lights dim down. The operating table kind of flattens out for him. And like a soft sort of white noise starts playing through the medical bay. Let me know if that's too much for you. I have many other settings for sounds, but I've found that this is the most universally pleasing.
As you kind of finish that sentence, you can see his eyes kind of. Yeah.
Enjoy. And I'm gonna go head out.
Meanwhile, on the bridge of the ship, you've got Flynn on point, in control. Is anyone else on the bridge of the ship or no?
Just to say, if no other sentient being, I suppose that's the best one. No other flesh being is there.
Yeah.
That works. I do have, as one of my things, a small Urbot, which I've named Crunch, that is just flying around checking little things out.
Okay. And I presume that Crunch probably maintains like navigation when physical body isn't present, because they're kind of two tandem jobs that kind of work together. Okay.
Yeah, and also if like we need to escape quickly, I can yell at him to like punch the engine button up, that sort of stuff. Basic-esque functions for like ship maintenance and all that, and a somewhat limited personality.
Okay. Is that one you've already formed in your head, or is that one you want me to go ahead and throw together?
I have not formed Crunch in my head at all beyond the name.
Okay, so I would assume, based on his function, he is a floater of sorts. I would say that physically, he probably closely resembles, if you played Portal 2,
Yes.
it starts with a W.
I know you're talking about Winston or Wesley whatever.
Webley.
Webster.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I'm surprised Dan didn't jump in. But didn't you like the Portal games? No. All right. Well, anyways,
yeah, they're fun.
whatever. It looks like that, but instead of like handles, it has kind of small appendages that can unfold, drop down, and do kind of mechanical handwork. I would say it is just kind of a big glowing kind of golden eye in its center, and its personality, so far as to say, is very meek. It is basically like Marvin, the depressed robot from Hitchhiker's Guide, except that it's like it's less jaded. So it's like a Marvin that hasn't been abused to the point where it's kind of realized that everything's just a horrible sham. It just understands its place in the world. So
Oh my gosh, it's like the butter dish from Rick and Morty.
it's like the butter dish from Rick and Morty. It's the butter dish pre being told what its purpose is. But yeah, it's functioning.
Cool. Yeah, I'm just sort of punching and just sort of putting us into a holding position until like I know where we're going. So probably high orbit.
Holding position established. It appears that 3. Oh my god, I hate that word. Hegemonic. Hegemonic ships are present in orbit as well, none closing or establishing any forms of sensory detection on our craft.
Gotcha. Just make sure they keep the distance and listen. If anything comes up, just buzz me. I need to probably go and see whatever's going on with this guy. Hopefully his arms haven't fallen off or anything.
You have got it, Flynn. Moving on to, let's see, the engineering area / kind of docking or kind of storage area in the back of the ship. I assume the second you got on the ship, you were just jumping right to your whatever you refer to affectionately for the engines, Quinn. We pushed to talk.
Tessie and Bessie.
Okay, I got Tessie and Bessie. And yeah, is anybody else in the back area at all, or just Quinn?
I'd probably be in my quarters, taking apart Krieger to see, just why it malfunctions.
Okay,
I mean, that's just like maintenancing the gun and stuff.
that sounds pretty boring.
Yeah, it's boring. I mean, there's nothing.
No worries.
Real...
Quick cut scene to it, and then snap back.
I named her Verna.
So when I would first get on to one of my potential loadouts is a very hyper intelligent animal pet thing,
Okay.
that can't talk but can understand me, and it's kind of like a red panda type creature named Sprocket.
Okay. So I would say that Sprocket is just kind of hanging out on the one that started with a T, whose name I've already forgot for the
Tessie.
Yeah, Tessie and Bessie. Got it. It is sitting up there on kind of like the top of the engine, at a part of the engine that has kind of like a small kind of heating kind of element. It's basically a heat sink, so it's not anything that's functionally important, and you can hear kind of like a sizzling sound, and you have been known to find that your companion will sometimes fry foodstuffs on this specific portion of the engine while no one's looking.
Hey, Sprocket. What are you cooking over there?
Do you have a personality for them already assigned, or no?
Go wild. It's just me. It's just me. Don't worry about it.
Canadian eggs. The ones we got when we stopped over in Cogito.
Nice. Snag one for me.
Nope. And then the camera kind of switches up to show like a over the shoulder angle, and there's like 6 of them kind of grilling on there. Nope.
Don't make a mess. You know I gotta keep these things nice and clean.
I'll clean it up, boss. No problem. Forget about it.
Anything sound awful out of the way?
Nope. Everything's working smooth.
Well, I'm gonna go get my hand checked out by Doc.
Okay. So, let's see. Who am I missing? So I've got Kevin and Andy. So Big Red, where are you heading after kind of boarding the ship? Are you going to your quarters as well, or?
I was wondering that because I think we're down 1 quarters. If you look at, there's like 5 places to stay and there's like 6 people.
So there are 5 beds, but the engineer doesn't sleep in quarters.
I got a hammock by the engine.
That's right. That's what we
Yeah,
decided.
and my
All right.
bed is right behind the pilot seat.
All right, that's one of the 5.
I think I'd probably want to do kind of like a debrief talk with Kane. So like, he doesn't have the same type of human like beliefs of like how people should talk. So what he does is afterwards we get in the ship and he like walks right up in front of Kane and he's like, "What happened?" And he looks right at you. He's like right up in your face.
I would assume that this would happen in the if you look at the ship, like right above the main kind of like loading area and engine room, there is a catwalk with a ladder that goes up to it. I would assume that you both have kind of come up to the ladder point, and Kane, there's the rec rooms to the south and meeting rooms to the south, and there's the quarters to the north. Would you be heading towards your quarters, or you'd be heading south towards the...
Is there a place on the ship that opens out into a good view of space?
Back of the ship. The
Back of the ship.
the meeting room has a viewing port area, kind of like a an open window on the back of the ship.
You know, if the camera is panning on Mo coming up to Kane and kind of angrily spouting off whatever foreign language he's saying, you can see Kane looking a little distracted and looking towards the back of the ship, like he wants to get there. But he turns around and faces Mo.
Yeah, the two of you would basically be on... I'll ping it for you. Hold on. Oops, hold on. You'd basically be like right about here. You see that ping?
Back area is
Yeah, this is a catwalk that's actually over top the
Cool.
Loading area below.
Then Mo would do the ultimate Mo. And the ultimate Mo is when he gets right up into your face, then his eyes like stretch down out till they're like right in front of you. So he's looking right at you.
Mo, my friend, I sense your agitation. Remember, calm emotions lead to calm actions.
What happened, my friend?
What do you mean? We won. We did what we needed to do.
Did you mean to push him over the edge?
The way guides. I just follow.
I don't buy your bullshit anymore.
Well, that was a quick arc.
Really? You have much to learn yet, Mo. Your anger gets the best of you. Perhaps you should take some time to meditate. I can lead you through some poses later.
So then he just does the like like breathing thing, and you could tell he's like really pissed, but then he just turns around and walks away.
Really cool camera shot happens. Basically, we're up on the catwalk, and this is kind of like we're in the second episode. We're establishing the space, right? So the camera drops back down to like the main engine area and kind of sweeps away from the engines, Quinn, and kind of moves towards like that main room, that main hallway in the center there. And at this point, Vieva, you're kind of coming out after your discussion with your guest, and you can see that Flynn is kind of coming stridently down the hallway after descending down from the. Basically, there are catwalk or there are ladders up in the pilot's area that descend down into the navigation area, and so you're basically just coming from the lower level of the bridge straight to the medical bay.
Yo, Doc, the patient gonna live?
Yes, he's currently resting at the moment, but I would like it if you could call the crew together for a quick debriefing. I have information on the job he was going to offer us.
Yeah, sure. Yo, crew, get your asses over here!
Oh, that's... I could have done that.
The space is decent enough of a kind of open space that everyone at that stage would hear Flynn at that moment.
Yeah, Carmen, hold your horses.
We do have an intercom.
Yeah, but it's all the way over there. I can just shout down the hallway.
It's literally like 20 feet away. It's just like on the wall right there.
It's not even. It's probably like 10 feet away on the wall. He would just have to like take 4 steps and press a button, but like...
Pretty much, yeah.
Nope. It's fine. It's fine.
Kane is in the meeting
Patient
room,
is asleep.
looking out into the stars. And could I sort of tap into the way to? I'm looking to see if there are any like agitations, sort of reaching out, because I'm worried about the scion of the Justicar.
No, not so much. There doesn't feel like there's any kind of manipulations of the way to kind of detect or kind of, denote. Your presumption is that that is definitely something that is a possibility, but you feel like that you're aware enough to know that you, as masters of your specific ways, you would know that the Scion wouldn't be stupid enough to try and utilize that, because not only would it grant him some insight as to where you are and what you're doing, but also grant you insight where he is located.
Perfect. So I turn around and head towards the group meeting.
Okay. So you basically open that door, and that's when you hear Flynn yelling. You can see that Mo is descending the ladder down, and everyone kind of meets up in the basically right in front of the shuttlecraft. But you're all there.
So, I have some news upon our new, what's a good word for him? We'll call him a ward. Nathaniel has shared with me the job that he was interested in hiring us for. If you see here, and I'm going to pull up somewhere, I'm assuming there's a computer somewhere nearby.
I would say, yeah, there's probably a console kind of like right there in the engineering that can be switched for general use.
Yeah, I'll pull up
PowerPoint.
projection of the moon base for the Jantians.
Mm-hmm.
There is going to be some sort of a meeting between a Dimitriarch of the Jantian people and a member of the House Hachi. We don't have any details on the House Hachi member, but the Dimitriarch, his name is Seifert. They will be discussing some sort of plan to include the hegemony in that part of the sector. Now, the Raiders would like us to intercept either party prior to this meeting occurring. They do not have details about the specifics of how we go about this, but they would ideally like the body recovered alive, not deceased. And our friend Nathaniel is not interested in joining us. He said his space adventuring days are behind him, and he would like to be either returned to the planet before we leave orbit, or there is a point upon our path that we can drop him off on. Any questions?
So it's a snatch and grab of one of the parties.
I'm pretty sure I said that.
So Grunt, in your assessment, who would be the better one to go for?
Did you say grunt?
Yes. Is that not your name?
No.
Grunt. My bad.
Run.
It's all right.
We've been flying with him for like what, 6 months now. You can't
His
get the
name
guy's
isn't
names.
on roll 20, so I can't see it. I checked first.
But I have my name there.
No,
the char- I don't
yours is
see a
the only
character
character sheet that we don't have a visual of on the list.
The name is
Fixed.
Run. There we go.
He chose a color that looks exactly like the all players' color, the blue.
Awesome.
Nice.
Perfect.
I know. Would there appear to be any benefits to choosing one over the other?
As far as I can tell, the only benefit is that we do have an actual identity for the Dimitriarch. The only advantage to targeting the House Hachi is that they should be the only House Hachi party on the Janshin base. So they might be a little bit easier to identify, as they won't be white-skinned with giant black eyes.
Well, there's a question: who's necessarily going to be the easier person for them not to miss?
Well, it depends on who you'd like to upset more, I suppose. The people on the planet that we're at, or the people who run the rest of the sector.
We already pissed off the people who run the rest of the sector earlier.
I mean,
This is true.
they don't run the whole rest of the sector. They run a lot of other things too.
He could
There
say.
you go, correcting me again. My goodness, I can't say one thing with you trying to edge in.
Hey, listen, if you'd actually said things the right way, maybe I wouldn't have to edge in.
The right way, sure.
If we are airing grievances, we should not push people over cliffs.
Stay out of this.
Someone's still bitter about the bridge.
Ken is looking so calm right now.
What are you looking at?
Kane?
Oh, yeah, because I mean there are
You're
things to look
looking at yourself.
There are things to look at here. He did put up a informational kind of docket, and again, sorry, I sound like I'm drowning. My wife is using the bathroom. That said,
Oh, he's just sort of looking off into the middle distance as these people are yelling at each other, not paying attention, like basically letting them pass over him.
okay, not focus on the screen. Got it.
Now you're making Mo even madder. You can see he's like really getting pissed. He's going.
No, we've been over this before. Family matters you stay out of. Anything else, fair game.
This is operations.
Yeah, and this, and I point to me and Quinn, is family.
Anyway, back to the mission at hand.
Yes, so I believe I've laid out all the details. I suppose the first decision we need to make is whether one of us would like to take the shuttle back down to planet side and drop Nathaniel off, or whether we'd like to drop him off along the way. Any preferences?
I mean, might be simpler just to drop him off along the way, you know? Just go near a planet, chuck him in the airlock, push him out. I'm kidding.
Yes, it wouldn't
What
be
is your
best if
obsession with
we
airlock?
disposed of him. Okay, that works perfectly well as far as I'm concerned. You see him like jotting down a note onto the computer. And as far as our plan when we get there, the travel time, Flynn?
John, I'm assuming Flynn would know what the travel time is, but you're muted, John.
Sublight, if you were traveling to Janshin, probably about 5 days. If you stop in the belt, then it's not going to add too much time, depending, unless you get held up there.
Gotcha. 5, maybe 6 days if we get held up somewhere. Shouldn't be too long.
Understood. so we would have plenty of time to discuss our plan once we get there. I recommend if we're going to be dropping him off, then we set our course and depart. Any dissension?
Nope. Reasonable.
Nada.
Excellent. I've already made accommodations for Nathaniel to rest in the med bay. He is currently resting at the moment, so I would very much appreciate it if we could allow the patient the day at the very least to recover. He has been through what I would call quite a lot, and you're more than welcome to discuss any questions you have with him directly tomorrow, since we will have at least a few days before we get to the drop-off point, correct?
Yeah, I'd say probably like 3-4-ish days.
Perfect.
Drop them off. Keep going.
Sounds good.
That's all I had. And he logs off the computer and starts walking away.
Okay. Yeah, does anybody have any, are you splitting up again and moving back to where you were, or kind of
Well, I
standing?
mean, I'm going to go up and punch in where we need to go.
Okay, so you head away.
So we can- yeah.
Okay. What was that, Tim?
Hey Doc, I think you could look at the sand.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry. Let me go grab my scanner, and I'll meet you right back here.
I mean, I figure I might as well head to your quarters, the med bay, to get it fixed up.
Oh, I'd actually prefer if you stayed outside. Like I said, Nathaniel is currently resting, and I'd like him to recover as quickly as possible. But if you don't mind waiting in the hall, I'll just quickly grab my equipment and meet you there outside the medical bay. Please
Sounds
come.
good. Then I can keep an eye on Sprocket.
Perfect.
Little
And
rascal, I know is hiding meat from me.
yeah, then they'll wait for you to kind of catch up, and we'll travel to the med bay together.
You would see that Sprocket is hanging out on the corner of the engine, has been watching the gathering the whole time, and has kind of like what would be considered probably something decently expensive, but not like horribly expensive, like a plate, probably the most expensive piece of dishware that the group has, that's been absconded with from the food room, and he is got it filled with what appears to be a bunch of fried eggs.
Not enough for me, eh? I see what you're doing.
His cheeks are kind of full, and he kind of cut to let's see. Let's say, Mo, are you trying to head back to where are you heading?
I guess Mo would probably head over to meet with Vieva, because he also got shot by Run. So, he would probably do that.
Yep. So you're both being followed as you kind of make your way that way by the very large red individual.
Yeah, I have like this singed part of my fur, and it's like a little bit of blood leaking out of there. I guess the blood would probably not be red. Just maybe it'd be more cool if it was green, because then it is different than the orange.
Oh, it'd be really cool. Like really, really cool
What?
if it was like glow stick red or green, like the Predator.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
I like it.
Yeah, I like that. I'm dripping it all over the ship. There's gonna be some pissed off people here.
But yeah, so you would follow with them. Vela, you can tell that Mo apparently needs more assistance as well.
Mm.
Hands full there. And then Kane, you're heading back up to go get your quiet in.
Yeah, I guess I have a system question. So I'm looking
Sure.
at the downtime activities, and training is one of them. On
Yeah.
page 188.
I'm aware. So we're not currently in downtime yet. So
Okay,
note that.
got it.
Yeah, because we're still actively doing something. Downtime is more of kind of like you find a safe place to kind of go to ground. That said, are you just going to head back and kind of hang out?
Yeah, that sounds good. I'm not gonna mess with Mel right now. He seems agitated.
And Runt, do you go back up to make sure your gun's nice and tidy?
Yeah, and I'll just take a salve that I have kind of in my bathroom, put it on my hand.
Sure. Okay. Flynn, when you get back to the bridge, the Urbot kind of turns to kind of look at you. It says, I was listening in on your conversation. I did some thorough scans of hegemonic activity in the area. I noted that a number of ships have been massing around Husui. It does appear that they are preparing a movement of some sort. All records and notations from beacons detect that they are probably heading out towards the outskirts of the system.
Huh. Crash course towards where we're going, or is this a little bit of a different area?
If you kind of pop over to the Urbot and kind of look at the console, you can see it looks like there are two ships that are kind of like just in position directly above Husui. And it looks like one of them is kind of like a very nice, like luxury kind of space yacht style craft, which would be very ambassadorial. And then the other ship is kind of like a bit more, it's not massive, it's probably frigate sized, which is massive compared to your ship, but it does look like this is a battlecraft. So it looks like this is the protector ship and the escort and the VIP.
Well, nothing much for it, but yeah, we got places to be anyway.
The Urbot basically doesn't really reply, and just goes to processing. Yeah.
I just sort of sit down in the chair and start actually like going through. I'm assuming for some of this there is obviously like, you know, beacons, places to sort of like help direct the ship and all that sort of stuff. So I'm just checking like a radio chatter to see if there's anything that needs to be avoided right now in terms of like, you know,
so on
disasters. I'm assuming probably not too much.
On Raider subcoms, you are kind of denoting the same thing that the Urbot is kind of showing you. It does look like there are some movements with the Legion's kind of ships and crafts. It does sound like their position around Cogito, and they do have one ship near Cruciatu, which is the next planet out. It sounds like those ships are basically being set, their courses being altered per the Raiders for a reason that they don't understand, but it sounds like they're kind of moving into creating like a defensive path for a ship that might be traveling from the inner sector, or the inner portion of the sector, closer to the star, out towards its edge.
Right.
And you're pretty skillful, wily individual. You notice that there does appear to be a decent and substantive break in that kind of coverage that would be present. And if you were wanting to abscond with the envoy, the ambassador from the House Hachi, you can see that there's kind of a breaking point in their movements near to the belt, which would be kind of the best place to kind of try and capture the envoy, if that was what you're intending to do.
So I'm not going to necessarily. I'm assuming getting to the belt is still going to be a little bit of time. I want to pull up the map and see just.
Sure. I'll go ahead and move us to the sector map.
Oh, that works too. So we've got at least.
Or system map, rather.
Cogito first before we hit the belt, it looks like.
Yeah, and so the alignments of the planets is not exactly 100% accurate. They don't kind of move in like that same kind of motion. You'll have to pass by its kind of trajectory. But I would say, if you want, I can go ahead and kind of move more to a better simulation of what the planets would be like at this point.
I mean, this is fine. I'm not too worried. I was more using that as just sort of like a its orbit sort of a thing. Like we go past its orbit and then you actually have it set up to move the planets around, huh?
Yeah.
Of course you do.
I lost Kogito's moons though.
Yeah, I noticed that. It's okay, we'll just consider them stationary moons. They're only moons like once or twice a year.
That is a really cool idea. That's a pretty fair approximation of what it currently looks like.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I'm not going to go exactly, obviously, like, I don't want to go exactly on the same course that they're going. But, yeah, I do sort of want to at least try to parallel their course, but far enough outside that, like, you know, it doesn't seem like I'm necessarily following their path as much as just going in the same general direction as they are. And then, I maybe not right away, because I still need to set a few things, but, you know, like, I will give them a, you know, the rest of the crew a heads up as to, the fact that we're going on a similar path, and we might be able to intercept them.
Okay.
So, you know, I'll probably fiddle around for like 20 minutes, just make sure we got everything put in correctly before I notify everyone else.
Perfectly fine. Okay. If nobody has anything else that they want to focus on, I'm going to go ahead and cut the scene, kind of splice it, and move forward to something in the future. So the next scene would basically be Flynn as you're kind of approaching the Cambion belt. It would be probably close to about a day's worth of travel from Parias to the Cambion.
Well, that's a quick question.
Yeah.
Did I get a chance to talk with like the crew and just sort of
Yeah, so I was only
learn what's going on? Because
I was only moving forward because it sounded like from the last scene that we were kind of splitting up and not really moving anything. But yeah, take a scene.
Okay.
If you want to drop into something, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to like, I figure go to where there's at least the largest amount of people, which I imagine probably at that point the
I probably brought Mo and Quinn to the exercise room right next to the medical bay, and like grabbed like a mobile scanner and some like salves and stuff to kind of treat them in the exercise room. And that's
Gotcha.
where you'd find like the three of us if you're looking for the largest group of people.
So,
And
guys,
I imagine I'm treating Quinn first, and like because Mo is a bigger thing.
So, guys, it looks like the one diplomat that we might have a chance to grab, he's passing through the belt and doesn't look like the most secure thing. I mean, there's a bit of a frigate with him, but still, diplomatic ship, mostly alone. I don't know if we want to, you know, try to jump a little bit early, or if we want to wait till they get planet side before we try anything.
Not secure, and he has a huge frigate with him. Do we really want to tussle with that thing in our ship?
I said it's not the most secure, but they do have a frigate.
I apologize, and I turn to Quinn. When he says not the most secure, what does that mean to you?
Meaning that might be easy.
Okay, excellent. I don't see why not to pursue it. I think we might want to discuss it with Runt. He might have a bit different opinion.
My thoughts exactly, Doc.
Yeah, sure. I don't mind if we discuss it. Just want to make sure you guys know, so we don't necessarily, you know, miss an opportunity.
Well, we do still have to drop off the patient. That's going to occur in about 3 days. We can set up a plan for the after we've delivered Nathaniel to his drop off, and
So I did my metrics wrong. It should actually be a day.
one day to drop him off.
Yeah.
Okay,
Gotcha.
and that gives us about 4 days to plan an attack prior to arriving at the moon? No?
Yeah, that would give us a bit of time. Might not necessarily get the same window of opportunity if we want to hit him on the belt if we do it that way, but yeah.
When will we be passing through the belt?
Now the belt, I'm assuming, John, would be earlier than...
You're hitting the belt in a day, and then it's
Yeah.
4 days of travel from the belt to Jane. And the main reason why that's the case is, just gravitation. It's a bit weirder outside of the belt than it is inside of the belt. It's more kind of sector normal, closer to Dracia, but outside there's lots of things that are kind of pulling one way or the other. Not so many things to sling off of. And the Cambion has its own kind of gravitational pull as well. So as you're moving away from the Cambion to Jane, the route that's been drawn out there is the best one, because you can see that the route from Parias to the belt is kind of direct, and then the path from Jane, from the belt to Jane is direct. And the reason why is that's because of that shift in gravity. It's easier to move from Parias to the belt in a direct outside of the or basically the orbit of the star. Me trying to sound smart. I studied for this stuff. I was ready, and then I'm not.
Where exactly are we dropping Nathaniel off on this route? Can you just draw an X?
Yeah, he'll go ahead and give you the information, and it's basically there, little white dot on the belt. You see it?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's basically like a station or something like that in the belt itself, maybe a mining station or something.
No, it's a hideout. It's basically just
Gotcha.
kind of like the core of a ship that's basically been kind of left inside of a rock, and is used as kind of like a staging point for raider activity.
Gotcha. It's like what's his name's base from Outer Worlds.
Correct.
And this frigate and the diplomat ship, do they seem to be moving at the same speed as us, or faster, slower?
Haven't left.
Haven't left yet.
Yeah, we got a little bit of a jump start on
there,
them. So.
drop him off, and set up an ambush inside of the belt if we wanted to, is what you're saying.
Yeah, pretty much.
Excellent. Perfect. Then I think we should definitely discuss this tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll give Runt the heads up so that he knows. And see what he thinks.
Quinn, did you actually suffer any harm on your character?
Yeah, it's something that would have to be handled in downtime. It's
Is
more
it
like leading
level
up to
level 1 or level 2?
it. Level 1 burn, minor.
Oh, okay. So I don't even. Do I need to roll anything to get rid of a level 1?
During downtime, I think it'd be part of my downtime to get quote unquote healed.
Got it. Okay. But yeah, then I suppose you should get the shuttle ready for our companion once we've arrived at the hideout.
Yeah, I'll make sure it's all tip-top shape.
Alright, and then I'm going to head over to Runt's room.
Okay, another scene. You hear a kind of on your door as you're sitting there with your weapon. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he's just hunched over kind of a workstation with, his pistol strewn in different parts. Can I help you?
Yo, Runt, got a question in terms of, do you have any idea of the foolhardiness or soundness of potentially jumping a diplomat ship with a frigate when we're in the Cambrian belt?
I mean, how many weapons do we actually have on this ship? Like how?
Sure. Go ahead. You should know the stats of the Caradinta.
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of weapons that we have, like ship weapons, we have grappling hooks. In terms of weapons for us, did we take the shock weapons, guys? I can't remember. I don't think we did. So I mean, it's basically like the weapons that we have on our persons, and then a grappling hook on the ship to like attach.
The ship has minor weaponry as well. It doesn't have like
Oh,
the,
okay, it
it
does.
doesn't have the big guns that you would have to kind of allocate. It has kind of minor
Gotcha.
weaponry. It will not be on standard with a frigate, and you'd know from the statistics that you're able to pull up regarding that frigate. It does have a oh shit, what's the name of the big gun?
Particle cannon.
No, the other one. The real
Yamato cannon.
It's
The big particle.
I'll look it up. It starts with a C. I can't remember what the name of it is though. But yeah, you would know that the frigate has one of those and also normal kind of frigate kind of minor fire.
Not a chain gun, is it?
No, but it will have.
Coherent.
The main point for system rules is in most engagement kind of roles, it will have scale on you based on its size.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think fighting it's a good idea, but you could sneak up on it maybe.
The luxury cruiser will not. It is substandard compared to your craft. If you can get it and it alone, then yeah, that's a different story.
Yeah.
So my thoughts are always, you know, what I'd rather do is give them more opportunity to surrender than to fight us, right? Because, I mean, let's be honest, I don't really want to get another combat quite yet.
Well, I mean, we don't necessarily have to get in combat if we can figure out some sneaky ways of doing things. You know, maybe set it up so that the frigate has an unfortunate accident or something along the way.
How do
Not
we
sure.
ensure the frigate, I don't know, stops somewhere, or like, how do we know the route that extensively? Like, do we?
A real quick note too. I just want to make sure you understand something. The Cambium belt is not like our asteroid belt, where it's just like a bunch of little bits that are kind of. It's more like the stereotypical Star Warsian kind of like asteroid belt. It is literally rocks and rocks and rocks, which is why it takes some time to kind of get through, and why you said if we have any problems, it is literally packed to the bone, rock city. So. Rife point for an ambush.
Okay.
I mean, is it safe to say that our ship is more like mobile in such a situation than a frigate?
Then the frigate, yes. Then the
Yeah.
luxury liner, yes.
Yeah, we have a ship built for traveling. They have a ship built for being luxurious and or being intimidating.
How can we help them surrender? Like, so we ambush them, right? Put them in a position where that their cannon, they're someone. It's not a Yamato cannon, but their huge cannon is completely worthless, right? Leave them exposed, and then allow them to surrender, right? Go about it that way.
So we only need to get one target. This is like out of character, but we only need to get one target off of the luxury ship. Like we need to kidnap the head, like negotiator off of that ship to kind of end the meeting. So if we could just like sneak our shuttle in onto the ship, drop like 3 or 4 of us in there, sneakily grab him and fly away before the frigate can even fire on us, we don't need to deal with the cannon. We don't need to engage in a space fight.
Yeah, we basically need to grab Henry Kissinger and go.
Right. Make sure the war criminal doesn't make it to the meeting.
Would it be possible to stage an accident where the luxury liner maybe hits an asteroid and blows up, but we use that as cover, quote unquote, to grappling hook the ship, get the guy, and push it off, it blows up?
So I'm glad you asked that question in that very specific way, because we're currently in a very cool segment of the game. So you are planning a job We're getting to the planning role, and it sounds like you're trying to decide on the method of the planning. Real quick note too: the bottom of that drink I was drinking had all of the alcohol in it, so that
Every
About to get
last
into it,
drop.
boys.
that literally, I was like, this is kind of watery, and then boom, like now I'm like, whoa. So, anyways, back to serious mode.
Sailing.
I do be sailing. So that said, we're now in the part where we are trying to decide what we're going to do, like the style of job that we're trying to make this. And I've gave you a lot of options, so you're definitely kind of floating through it very well and naturally, and I'm loving that. And I'm
Yeah, I mean, the other thing
ahead.
that I was thinking too is instead of smashing up the luxury ship, maybe like I don't know how vulnerable the frigate's engines are as a player, but I'm assuming Quinn would know how vulnerable they are, because that's the other thing I was thinking is cause a asteroid to just go astray and hit them in the engines, knock those out, and that way they can't necessarily maneuver or accelerate or decelerate. They're kind of stuck on a straight line at that point.
You would know as a pretty solid pilot and having an understanding of these kind of larger ships, not quite capital, but pretty close. Um, they have deflector engines, so like
Gotcha.
if it's a direct fire shot of some sort, or if you're able to kind of like rail drive that rock into them, then it might work. But if it's just kind of lobbed at them, it's going to get deflected by the generators.
Gotcha. So we need some sort of like actual like
Weapon.
gauze cannon or something to launch it at. We can't just like attach a rock to the grappling hook, go in a direction, and just cross our fingers.
Well, with the grappling hook, you could try and do like a maneuver where you put enough speed to it through like using your sublight engines and then launching it that way. But it would be a tricky maneuver to be sure. Um, yeah. And it does sound like that would kind of lead into the assault kind of mentality for the engagement. Real quick, if you aren't understanding that part, page 148 of the Scum and Villainy book, you'll see that there are several different options for the jobs planning type. And when we get into the engagement role, which we did last time, kind of on the fly with the beat up the cop.
Right. Yeah.
Job.
The assault method to me seems like very difficult because you're talking about like getting an asteroid to hit the frigate. Why don't we just hide on an asteroid, and when the ships go by, we like somehow attach ourselves to the luxury liner and then just go in there, grab them real quick, and go. Like we'll make sure that we don't either one shoot each other or two push each other off of like bridges or anything, but we'll grab them real quick and then we'll like head back in the ship and boom. I don't know if
Well, I
that's
think-
possible.
I think that's
Infiltration.
what Zach was saying with the transport port. It was Zach who mentioned that, right? Just
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
you-
a friendly reminder, we get an extra D roll to our engagement if we use deception, infiltration, or a social plan.
I was about to bring
That's
that
why.
up. Yeah.
I just
Yeah,
stepped
that's
away
why I
for
was thinking.
for a second. I'm not sure if this was mentioned, but what if we use our shuttle and pretend it's disabled as a way to get into the ship?
You're pretty
So-
knowledgeable for hegemonic kind of like methods. They're probably going to disregard you.
yeah, either
that's
that or
why
I'd
we-
imagine we'd get picked up by the frigate, not the luxury. So
Yeah, that's why we hide an asteroid. Then we sneak in to the luxury liner before the frigate can do anything, because we'll be attached to their ship with our ship, not the shuttle. And then we grab a person and then we go real quick.
the shuttle will be easier for actually like docking, I think, than the ship. The shuttle's got a docking station built into it. The ship, I mean, we could do that, but I think we'd have to use the grappling hooks to attach, and we might be ending up more in an assault mode than a infiltration mode at that point. I think the shuttle's the best thing for infiltration.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, I would say looking at the options that are available to you with the planning and engagement based on the listing here, assault is possible, deception is possible, infiltration is possible, mystic is possible, social in this current kind of attack towards the discussion here, not really possible, but it's definitely possible if you go a different route. I think you can kind of understand what I mean by that, but I won't try and angle it too much further because I don't want to influence your decision. And transport is also an option, though a much harder one to kind of squeeze in, and also in the same way as social, not leading in this current route.
Yeah, and I mean, to what John was saying with the social, it's true. We don't necessarily have to do this in the belt if we think that it would be safer to do it actually at Jane.
Yeah, it's certainly just an option.
Yeah. So we don't have to do it right now if we think that it'll be a little bit more difficult to try it out in the open like that.
I think strongest option in the belt is infiltration with the shuttle. Shy me up to the luxury liner, attach, go in, and go in without really the. I can try and hack the doors, get in, and then quick snatch and grab with inside before the frigate. I feel like that's the big idea of like if we get their attention, it's assault. If we can avoid their detection, that we can infiltrate the luxury liner, grab the guy, get out, and be on our way.
How do we get the shuttle to the other ship without being detected? We have a way to
We
do
hide on one of the asteroids until they're close, and then just kind of pop off and pop on. We know their flight plan, right?
Do we know
So
if there are like sensors on ships that would detect such things?
I mean, there's going to probably be sensors, but if there's so many like asteroids around, I doubt that a tiny shell is going to get noticed for like a blip and a half if we do it right.
Are there spacesuits in the ship? Is that a thing too?
Quick note. So regarding that, the Cambion it's harder to detect things, but not impossible. So your sensors aren't blinded, nor are theirs. But if you are close to a gravitational well, like a larger asteroid, it'll be harder to detect you than it would be if you weren't. So that said, you can kind of use like a Boba Fett kind of methodology if you're familiar with the prequels, and latch onto an asteroid and wait, and then pop off and then do work.
Yeah. The other question that I did have, John, is so the frigate's engines would be pretty well guarded. Is it the same thing for the luxury cruiser?
So sorry, say your question again.
In terms of the engines for the luxury cruiser, do they have the same sort of like deflection setup?
No, not so much. But it is a ship that is no larger than yours. So
Gotcha.
if it were to take a large, massive hit like that, it would need to be very precise to not just obliterate the ship entirely.
Okay, gotcha. So, probably not the greatest idea to launch tiny asteroids at engine of luxury cruiser.
You could shoot them out. That probably works.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking of shooting them out as much as making it look like they just missed a tiny asteroid. But, yeah. Like, I'm not trying to go full-blown assault with that. Just sort of, like, do that as a point where it cuts the engines near enough wherever we're hiding at the shuttle out that it, wouldn't be hard to do a jump.
I get you. Basically, so jumping isn't really a thing. You can't jump in this world without a jump gate. And those gates...
I was using jump just to mean, like, get from the asteroid to the ship, not like...
That makes sense. And yeah, that is probably the most problematic thing that could happen, is the shuttle, or the luxury yacht, docks with the frigate. For kind of mental picture size comparison wise, the frigate is the frigate would be to the luxury liner as a Star Destroyer is to a Carillion corvette. They're not the same size. They are certainly smaller, but what I mean to say is the frigate can kind of take in the yacht inside of its docking bay.
I think the infiltration with the shuttle sounds like a good idea. We could avoid all the police down on the planet and all the military people and all that fun stuff.
I don't know. The one thing that I'm going to say in terms of doing it out in space as opposed to doing it on the planet side is, on planet side, there's a lot of opportunities for like distraction and misdirection and a lot of other people around besides us. Out in space, it's going to be us and a bunch of rocks, and I'm pretty sure that they're going to figure out pretty quickly that if someone goes missing, it wasn't stolen by a bunch of rocks.
You're right. In space, no one can hear you scream.
No, but they can definitely tell a ship from a rock.
Definitely true. We could always do a planet side. If that, I think that'll be easier or better.
Also, we, from what I can tell, we have +1 status with the Draxel's Raiders. So could we possibly bring them in to serve as a distraction?
Yeah, you're about to drop off one of their boys.
Do we think
that-
they might be willing to help us out, and would that potentially fall into a distraction, infiltration, or social plan?
That's a discussion we can have before we decide what the engagement's going to be. Yeah.
That is true. I hadn't thought about the Raiders.
I mean, we might as well use the connections we got, right? They want the job done. If they can distract the Corvette while we jump in, you know, without any casualties to this side. They do us a solid, we do them a solid, you know. Chances they might reduce the pay a bit, but it lets us get out smooth.
So, go ahead, Matt. Say what you're going to say.
I was going to say, yeah, I know. I ain't disagreeing with you. I was just saying, I hadn't thought about it.
But
I mean,
Speak up then.
frigate. I mean, frigate. Let's do it.
So real quick aside though, Matt, you would know, and I want to make sure this is something I've clearly outlined because I did mention it a couple of times before. I just want to make sure it's something you would know. The second shit hits the fan, the most likely tactical objective that's going to happen between the two ships is small ship goes into larger ship and larger ship goes into gun mode. So if the raiders show up and are distracting, it's not going to be the frigate's going to wander off and the luxury ship's going to hang back. It's going to be connect and then fight.
Oh yeah, no, I get that. I mean, it's one of those things too. Like, might not even necessarily be a fight situation sort of distract, but having more parties to help out with like whatever distraction we come up with.
100%. Yeah, I mean, the more the merrier, sure. But I just want to make sure you know that if it does come down to we're going to try and use these guys as a distraction, it could more or less kind of cut off your potential.
Unless, of course, we Ocean's 11 them, and by the time that those guys are distracting them, we've already taken them off of the ship.
Wouldn't you know, right here, it looks like there is a seventh option, Ocean's 11, which says crazy fandangle
MacGuffin's plan, and you tell them afterwards?
crazy conglomerate of all the above detail. And then the movie's over. Perfect.
All right, which one of us is Brad Pitt? I nominate Quinn.
What are you talking about?
That's just because you want to play Clooney.
Shh! Don't tell anyone.
He wants to be Clunsy.
If anything, I'm Napster, right? Oh wait, that's the Italian job.
I can't
It's a
remember.
talent job.
I can't remember the name of the guy who goes in the box. Send him
gosh.
in. Anyway, point aside, we're not playing that game. We're doing things here. But yeah, you're having this discussion with Runt, so let's switch back to that real quick. You're talking about the strategy of trying to ambush the ship in the asteroid Gamian belt.
Right, and just like the viability of it.
Yep. I mean, can we get like the blueprints of their ships? Can we get, you know?
I mean, nothing exactly precise. I can tell you generally what the ship would probably look like on the inside.
That's a more
But,
than
you know,
fair
like-
assumption.
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to tell you like where every single last air vent is, and if you go into here, you'll connect to the kitchen and can steal all their schnitzel. But, you know.
So I'm thinking like maybe the craftiest way might be to sneak onto the ship, right? I would much rather not do that. It just seems far more risky.
Wait,
But-
you'd rather not sneak onto the ship, or you'd rather would sneak onto the ship? Sentence was confusing.
I would rather find a way to, while they're traveling,
Gotcha.
ambush them and make them surrender. Just the individual. Right? That's all we want.
I mean, that's all we want, but they've
just-
got a frigate.
I don't see them surrendering to us. They
Yeah.
have the bigger guns.
No, I understand.
You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. There's no way that that's gonna work. We would have to. You
Or
know,
we abandon this plan and we go to the moon.
The moon, just like Doge.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
I wish
Hell.
I bought Doge.
I have Doge. To the moon. Buy Doge. Just buy it. Anyways, back to the not that. But no, buy Doge though.
I plan to.
Fair. Anyways, darkness aside, continue your conversation with Rat.
So, aside of the pretty much impossibility of them surrendering to us, do you think then it's not worth trying to jump them on the belt and just wait till we get to the moon and try to be all sneaky and social?
I mean, if we don't have the capability to make them surrender, then yeah.
Yeah, alright. I don't know why, but I feel like there's some giant dark god somewhere laughing at us.
So, also to help you out here a little bit, I just want to make sure that you guys focus on your strengths. You do have a Way Mystic who is very focused on kind of martial combat. You do have Master Gunner Runt, and you do have Big Burly Mo. Like, it does seem like, you know, the more forward kind of smash and grab kind of technique is kind of your deal. I do like that you want to try the social thing on the moon. I'm down with that. I'm not saying don't do that. That's not what I'm saying here. I'm just saying, like, you know, there is also either way, whatever you want to do. I'm just saying.
I was just throwing the social thing out there. I'm sure we'll come up with an actual plan. Just, you know, meaning we're not going for them in space, probably, from the sounds of it.
Okay.
That sounds right to me.
Okay. Does that sound like a party consensus? Like, does that sound like it's about right?
It just seems too risky to try to attack another ship with our ship.
Doesn't seem feasible.
Okay. Okay.
Seems risky.
Okay. Anybody want to throw?
All the plans are going to be risky, in my opinion. We have like a golden opportunity to get a pretty decent advantage with an infiltration technique. We might get another advantage because of the asteroid belt working in our favor to kind of disguise our infiltration. Like, I'm just like, from the mechanical standpoint of the engagement role, we have a lot in our favor, and like, it is you three on a ship, the quote-unquote luxury ship. You can imagine most of their security is going to be on the frigate. So, like, I just don't see you, like, the three of you who are all very trained,
murderers,
meeting a whole lot of resistance once you get on there, you know? I think, like, versus, like, I mean, there's not to say we get to the moon, we do a little bit of scouting, and something else presents itself, but, like, we are a party that does not have a speaker, so trying to do a social plan is probably not our best move.
100%.
Yeah, I agree.
We are a team with two solos and a martial mystic, so a smash and grab.
We have two solos and a Jedi, a
Right,
pilot,
like-
an engineer, and a doctor to fix them when they get wounded. That's
Right.
literally what you guys built. So I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
But
This is the plan that our crew seems to be best at.
real quick,
Yeah, I agree 100% with Vieva. Mo thinks we should try it now. You know, if there's any way we could somehow sneak from an asteroid to their ship, then that's the hard part. After that, it's all we grab them and go.
That's going to fall on your pilot to handle. But the main thing I want to point out too is you don't know the Dimitriarch situation either. It could be very obscure, confounding, and hard to breach. It could be something that you very quickly can kind of outline and learn and detail, like where he's going to be, what he's going to do, and what you need to do to make sure Sifford ends up with you. In the social kind of mentality, it could be a situation where you could like talk them into not doing it, like just shunting them away. But again, that's more of a social kind of interaction that would definitely be harder to kind of play with, as we discussed, 2 solos and a Jedi. It's entirely up to you how you want to proceed. But again, you do not have any intel or information as to what the Dimitriarch situation is and what you would need to do to secure them.
Could we talk about the away party, who that's going to be? So it seems like Matt is going to...
Why did you do a flip?
Quinn's going to stay on the ship as a pilot.
I'm the pilot. I wanted to do a barrel roll.
Sorry, Matt did a barrel roll.
Flynn will stay on the ship as a pilot. Quinn, it might be helpful if he came with us, if there's any technical stuff that needs to happen with their ship. I'm not sure how useful the Ava would be, but that's another option.
On the flip side of that, if Matt has to go hot and burn the engines up, he's going to need someone down there to put out the fires.
But I have rigging trained, so I can stay on the ship with Matt and like keep our ship running.
I'm pretty sure that Quinn is not going to let you mess with his engines.
But if the
in
job,
more than one way.
If the job is to maybe mess with the other ship's engines, maybe we need that skill.
I understand what you're saying.
Right.
Entirely up to you guys.
I can both hack and rig. I'm good at rigging.
Yeah, out of curiosity, who do we have that has helm besides me? Because I know at least one other person does.
I do.
Okay, gotcha.
And that might be useful too if we can take control of the ship somehow. You never know.
Well, I was more even thinking like if we need to have someone someone flying on the shuttle and someone staying with the ship itself, like our ship itself, making sure we actually, don't have to just land.
I have a special ability that can let me pilot it if I need to.
Mysterious.
It's called I'm a doctor, not a ... I just justify it in character how someone taught me to fly a shuttle.
Oh, I love this game. This game is so great.
It's great.
This game is
I'm a
fantastic.
doctor, not a
Oh my god.
pilot.
Not a bricklayer.
But I know how to lay these bricks because I treated a patient once 20 years back. He was a bricklayer, told me all about how to mix mortar.
I treated a patient that was a Horta and I had to use... No, I'm sorry. My dorkiness is showing. Go ahead, continue.
Yeah, so if we need me to pilot and Quinn to stay on the ship for that sort of stuff, we can do that flip too, but I have no hacking skill. So I won't be able to help with security systems. I've only got rigging.
Gotcha.
Well, a security system would be like if we land on the ship I don't know if our shuttle will actually be able to go into a shuttle bay and land inside the ship, or if it lands on the outside and we go into like a hatch and go in. But either way, security is like once we're at that point, they're gonna know we're there. Then we just come out with guns ablazing and mows everybody down with this heavy blaster, and we go around and grab the guy and go.
So I moved us back to the ship chart, or the ship map, just so we can kind of understand a little bit about the shuttle. If you move down to the shuttle, you'll see that it has 4 seats. It looks like there are a couple of displays. The 2 seats in the back, the displays that are present are basically superficial, but allow for sub-control. So if people in the front seats want to yield the control backwards, they can. The 2 seats up front, tactical and pilot. That's all you have. The ship doesn't really have much in the way of firepower. 2 front-facing blasters, pretty simple stuff. But the main thing is that it is designed for docking in subspace. It's also designed for salvage. So it links up bottom down onto another ship, and then it drills down into the ship or bores into it with kind of heated kind of connectors, or it just links onto it if it has a connector port, and then it opens up and creates a link. So you can just drop from your ship into their ship, the gravity reestablishing and changing when you switch ships, and then you're basically inside of another ship. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yep.
That allows for, infiltration would infiltrate the ship, burrowing in, and then I don't know if it makes it assault if once we're in we basically guns blazing.
So just because it's an infiltration mission does not mean that you're not going to have to shoot or kill people.
Yeah, I mean, think about Han and Luke on the Death Star. They infiltrated. They still shot a bunch of people.
Right. Or just think of any Metal Gear game.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that can potentially play to our strengths in that we infiltrate, which we're good at, and then we have a crew that's good at once we're in there, we shoot the stuff to get our target out.
Correct.
Right.
Seems like
infiltrate in space, shoot them in the face.
I like your rhymes. I'm gonna give you guys a gambit for that.
Grudgingly agree.
I'm gonna give you an additional gambit for that. I know that's not a way that this game works, but epic.
It's your game.
We'll take it. We now have
roll
two
6, you got 3 to start.
I like stupid jokes and good rhymes, and dad puns are the best.
So I think Kevin and I are on board for this.
Kevin?
But it sounds like Andy and Dan are not.
No, I think
I'm
I've been
down for it.
convinced. I'm convinced. Sure.
So Matt, Tim.
Tim, the player, says yes. Quinn, the character, would probably want to go for more of a social approach on planet and try and negotiate.
And Flynn, because Quinn says he wants to go for the planet side, we're totally jumping in, right? Yeah.
I mean, Flynn's whole thing on this is basically just, hey, whatever works.
Sounds like he knows these
I'm perfectly
characters.
fine with hitting him in space. Let's do it, I say.
You always taking risks. And then who's going to have to fix it up once the ship gets shot to crap by that frigate? Me.
Hey, look on the bright side. We might just die.
How is that the bright side? Who's going to take after Mom?
You don't have to fix the ship then. Thought that's what you were complaining about.
So short-sighted.
You're so bad at taking a joke.
Someone needs to be serious between the two of us.
Yeah, and some of us need to learn how to relax also.
I have drugs for that.
Yeah, take some of his drugs.
Get out of this.
All right. So, scene cut. It does sound like we have decided on a method. It sounds like we're going for an infiltration engagement, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Scene cut. I'm going to do a quick scene that's not related to the job itself, more kind of just secondary kind of deal. You arrive at the location that Nathaniel has kind of designated as the drop-off point. It is a... basically, it looks like a capital ship's like aft end with the thrusters kind of broken apart, slammed kind of nose first into an asteroid. And from what you can tell, it looks like the docking bay of the craft in question is visible enough and accessible enough to allow entry into it. You can depart via shuttle and enter into it, or you could put the entire craft, if you want, into this pirate base.
I'm thinking we're probably going to want to do the drop-off a bit quick, so we'll probably just chuck him in the shuttle and launch that out towards him.
Okay.
Real quick, just from a kind of the stations of the game. would we be getting a downtime before the job starts, or is like preliminary job is just to get us in the action, and now this is our first job, and then we'll have downtime afterwards?
So because of the way you elected to go with your route, a day's worth of downtime isn't really much of a downtime at all. Downtime's a little bit more kind of hefty. So what I would allow is, just because we're doing an ad hoc kind of situation here, the first session was a bit ad hoc. I would say for this first segment, if you have harm on you that is 1 or 2 levels, the doctor would be able to, in the day, because they're focusing on it, be able to kind of grind that out and make it so that that harm is negated. So you can drop out. If you have 2 harm or less, you can go ahead and remove it. If you have higher than 2 harm, you can drop it by 1.
What about stress?
If you are stressed, you can go ahead and just drop that down by half of whatever you have, rounded up for the negation. So if you have 3, you would lose 2.
Okie doke.
Sweet.
Who's taking the shuttle to drop Nathaniel off?
I could do
I can
that.
go whoever as a guard.
Okay, so it sounds like
I'm
Runt and
Probably the
Mo.
pilot, right?
Well, Runt
if
can,
it-
Runt can fly.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I can fly.
Yeah, so Runt and Mo can just drop him off.
Can I go as well to see if I can ask the Raiders
Yeah,
a quick
yeah.
question? Because Nathaniel was a little iffy on his details with the House
Sure.
Haiji. I want to see if they know any more about the target from House Haiji.
Not a problem. So you fly in and you land inside of the craft. When you do land, you do notice that there are about 6 raiders. And to kind of put a picture as to how the raiders in this sector kind of dress, if you're familiar with the Necromunda game at all, or the game line, they dress very much like the Escher kind of gang. They're very brightly colored. They have very like over-the-top hairstyles, kind of coiffed into like massive kind of just either like massive spikes or just kind of brightly colored, very eccentric. They're all holding auto guns, and they're all kind of standing around the ship as it kind of lands in its position. And then as the doors kind of open up, you can see them kind of moving into a position where they're holding that position. You can see them outside of the ship. The shuttlecraft has, missing. Oh, got it. I was reading chats. I'm sorry. You can see them as that's happening, so you know what to expect as you exit. But Nathaniel kind of pops out. He's been pretty quiet on the shuttle, but unless you addressed him, real quick.
No,
Okay. Pops out and says, "Hey, it's okay. It's me. I'm just dropping off. I sent over the message. You got it, right?" And you see one of the guys go, "Yeah, we got it. It's fine. We're being careful. Hegemony's kind of been moving around Cambion a bit more often than we'd like." "What do you mean?" "We've been hearing reports that the Star Crusher is kind of keeping an eye close to it near Cruciato. And it's a problem. I don't know why I developed this accent, but I've got it, so I'm going to go with it. It's fine, whatever."
You've just been listening to me too much, that's
Yes,
all.
that's what it is. Forget about it.
Forget about it.
That said, Nathaniel says, "Alright, looks to be Ava. Who'd you want to talk to?"
I was just hoping to find out more information on this mission that you seemed to have data that was lost. I was hoping they had some sort of backup on base.
"Oh yeah, let me see if I can't help you with that. Come on, come with me. Bring whoever you want. It's fine." Pops off.
Why don't you stay with the ship, Run? Mo, you can follow.
Okay.
Okay.
Mo, you pop out. A lot of the raiders kind of go, like, do gaspy kind of looks. Not uncommon for you when you're seen by people. You're kind of a rare breed, to be sure. But the 3 of you start kind of moving through the raider encampment. You come to a point where it looks like you're entering into what you would regard as basically like a communications relay in a capital ship, which has basically been converted into a similar kind of data library for the Raider camp. The Nathaniel walks over to one of the terms, kind of starts playing with it, pulls up some information. Give me a second here. I gotta figure some things out, and starts kind of playing with it for a bit. All right. Okay, so the envoy has been denoted. It looks like the individual goes by the name of Proctor Valen. Proctor is his title. He is a third cousin of House Hachi, so he bears the last name of Hachi. It seems like he is a failed student of the Kafitsat Haderek. I don't know what the fuck that is. And he shakes his head. It would seem that he's had some mystic training, and that's about it.
And a physical description?
Pulls up a picture. You got your data card on?
I do, and I pull out my communicator.
Hands it, pops it. You hear a and then he hands it back to you. It's got a picture of the guy. He looks like Christian Bale from the movie Equilibrium.
Perfect. This is exactly what I was looking for. Thank you so much again, Nathaniel.
No problem. Yeah, sorry I couldn't give it to you earlier. Fuck all and everything.
And I suppose my last question would be, once we've acquired this individual, would you like him returned to this base, or is there another drop-off that we could arrange with the Raiders?
Here's fine. We also, let me check with the boss. Hold on. I know here's fine, but again, if you guys, from the sounds of it, I kind of overheard a little bit of what you kind of planning. You're planning on doing it on the Cambion, yeah?
That is the current plan, yes.
Might not be too smart to hang him around here. Might want to move him a bit outside.
That's what I was suggesting, which is why I was hoping you'd provide a new location.
Let's go check with Rosa, see what she thinks.
Lead the way.
Heads on. You see a woman kind of talking to a couple of other individuals, and she kind of looks over and she says, Grand, what are you doing? You show up here with a crazy shuttle. We got a bounty hunter ship outside. What the fuck is this about? They're good. They're friends of the Raiders. I mean, you haven't heard of their ship? She's like, no, what's the name of it?
It's the Akara Dinta, ma'am.
Okay, yeah, maybe I have heard of it.
Dr. Vieva. Nice to meet your acquaintance.
Pleasure. She looks over to Nathaniel. What do you need? And he kind of looks over to you.
Well, I was hoping that you could provide us with a, what's a good word for it? It turns to Mo. A drop-off location. Our plan is to acquire the member of the House Hachi before they arrive on the moon to sort of disrupt this meeting that we've been set to infiltrate, and I didn't want to return them to this base as our plan is to infiltrate on the Cambion. So if there were a location outside of the belt, that would be...
She kind of raises her hand up to stop you for a second. She looks at Nathaniel. Is this Belgrad's ultimatum? Yeah, it's the ultimatum. We gotta get this shit done. She kind of shakes her head. We're going high outside of our stuff. It'd probably be easier to just deal with the new way of it rather than trying to shape it. But if Belgrad's into it, Belgrad's into it. Okay, yeah, so you're planning on grabbing what, the Jane Shin or the...
I believe his name is Proctor Valen.
The hegemonic guy, yeah. Alright, well then, what I would say is, I'm going to throw out a comm to Melissa. She kind of hangs around Cruciatu. It's a pretty nice planet. I'm sure you're familiar with it. if you travel the sector for any amount of time.
I have.
She looks down at her belt, pulls out a card, kind of walks over to you, takes your hand and puts it into your hand, and then closes your fingers over it. When you're in the Cruciatu region, and you're within its kind of orbital section, its gravitational well, go ahead and slide that bad boy into your comms console. It'll put out a broadband outwards, and Melissa should be able to pick that up because it's going to ping right to her. And when she hears it, she'll come and pick up your bounty. She'll also be the one responsible for paying you. I'll send her a missive, let her know what's going to be happening there. Should go smooth, no problems.
Absolutely.
Apparently the Trajan sector is New York, or the Northeast Coast. Anticipate her to have the accent, but she does. But yeah, any other questions for her?
No, I believe that covers everything for me. Mo?
No.
Excellent. Well, it's been a pleasure meeting you, Rosa. We shall be getting on our way.
Have a good one. You head back on. While you're sitting there, the folks who did have the auto guns kind of hanging outside of the ship, after a fashion, just kind of leave bored. Nobody hangs around outside, and you can see that your fellow crewmates are boarding back onto the ship. Any quippy remarks or anything that you want to say before the ship takes off?
No.
Veva or Mo? Okay, so the scene doesn't really go inside the ship, it just shows the ship take off. Back on board the ship as you're waiting for them. Any kind of scenes that you want to interject? No? If not, boarding onto the ship and moving into the engagement section of this specific deal. We've elected for the infiltration methodology. We are going to try and trespass unseen on the luxury yacht, and the main detail will be that point of infiltration. That being said, we're going to focus on advantages. For the group, you would know the region. You have an idea of where they will be traveling through, and so basically you'll know kind of where you'll need to be. It sounds like you do have an advantage kind of present. So is this operation particularly bold or daring? Not really. I'd say no. It's not overly complex or contingent on many factors, so it's like right middle ground. Does the plan's detail expose the vulnerability of the target? Yes. Or hit them where they're weakest? Also yes. Plus 1d, so you have one advantage there. Can any of your friends or contacts provide aid or insight for this operation? You've acquired that. I would go ahead and say that plus 1d would be accurate. So we're looking at plus 1, plus 2 total so far. Are there any other elements that you may want to consider? Maybe a low tier target will give you plus 1d. It is a higher tier target. I'd say actually middle ground target. What they're doing is higher tier, but them specifically are not. I would say that's kind of middle ground. So based on what I've kind of outlined there, you'll have plus 2 dice for the fortune roll. So you start with 1 dice for sheer luck.
We have a third one because this is a smash and grab operation, and we're on the Akara Dinta. So
Correct.
you get another plus 1 for doing an infiltration type engagement.
So we're looking at 4 dice. You currently have an additional gambit for lulls. So baseline, you had 2 from the engagement last time, plus 1, so you have a total of 3 gambits. And you can spend a gambit on the roll as well. So that said, you can also do a devil's bargain on this roll if you want. But yeah, just let me know if you want to spend any of your current available options there, or do you want to just go with the 4 dice and hope for the 6?
I say yes to the gambit, no to the devil's bargain.
That's stupid.
I agree. Probably burning a gambit for lulls is
The 5 dice then. So we got 6 of you. Just pick one person who you don't want to roll a dice, or you can have one person roll all the dice.
Who is piloting the shuttle? Did we decide that?
Runt.
Runt is piloting the shuttle with. Is it just the three of them that are infiltrating the ship?
Yeah, we're going to need to handle that before we get to the actual portion of it, because
Right.
So the thing that you might want me for is if no one else is able to hack, if we would ever need that, I can hack, and I could potentially bring a hacking rig.
Are you saying Mo can't hack it?
You can hack it for sure, but I don't know how well you do with computers. I just haven't seen you in action.
I destroy computers.
Not necessarily what you want when you want to be subtle, though.
Yeah, we ain't here to smash and grab the computers.
Why they make keyboards so small?
They do make bigger keyboards.
No, it's discriminatory against your kind.
I would say it's your call, Quinn. Would you feel comfortable leaving me in charge of, like, the ship with Flynn, or do you need to stay with your baby?
I think by the time we get back, that's when the hot flying maneuvers would probably be going underway once we're back on board. So I would be okay leaving to be on site if needed. Otherwise, I'll stay safe, but if you need me, I'm there. I want to make sure we do this right.
Having him available is a good thing.
Works for me. So the four of you are going on the shuttle.
I'm assuming this is...
We bring.
Go ahead, Kevin.
I was gonna say we bring little guy for a computer.
I would assume this conversation's happening inside of the kind of meeting room towards the back of the ship. We didn't discuss it, but I'm going to do a quick little flashback. When you were sitting kind of on the table, kind of looking out into space, Kane, and kind of focusing on the way and kind of reflecting on the experience. You had a couple of momentary flashes from the way that kind of inserted into your psyche. One of them seemed to be this face that you've seen before. You recognize, but you also remember why they failed. An individual who looks exactly like the individual you're currently engaging or going to engage with. And I assume during the meeting process you've seen the face at this point. You know who you're going for. And you would know his name. And you would recall him being inside of your same school. But you remember the reason why he dropped out. Anger, not too dissimilar from Mo's, was something that filled him. And he was capable of utilizing minor techniques, kinetic techniques, but you would also know that he is nowhere near as strong or capable as you are in those techniques.
Okay.
Or at least he wasn't the last time you saw him.
Is there a dark side of the way?
Not really, no.
Okay.
Just the way. But yeah, that's something you had already seen kind of flash to you when you were meditating after the meeting, the initial meeting. And now seeing him on the data pad, you're kind of reliving that and understanding the way is guiding you towards this. There's a purpose here.
So yeah, Kane's hand reaches out and he's stroking Mo's fur, trying to sort of calm him.
Anything else during the planning portion that we need to discuss, or no?
Can I outfit them all with the space version of ketamine? Space etamine?
What does
Would
that
that
do?
be
It's a sedative, like a medication or a drug. So you all have like a syringe with a sedative to subdue this guy without having to kill him, because we don't have stun weapons. So
under
as
our generic loadout stuff, illicit drugs is an option, and since it's italicized, it doesn't actually count for your load. So we could technically all take illicit drugs as
Yeah.
that's what that falls under.
Right.
No,
Just say no, man.
we did actually skip the item loadouts section. So that being said, yeah. So for the operation in question, I'm assuming that most parties that are entering it will basically be just going with their standard fare plus that, plus the drug. Really, nothing else.
Yeah.
Is there a communicator kind of a thing where if we get split up, we can communicate with each other?
I would assume you're always in communications. Yeah.
Oh.
Go ahead.
So, John, from what I gathered from reading was that before we roll, maybe it's before we roll, we just pick, do we want to go in with a light, heavy, or normal load? And then it's the idea is that like, hey, I brought this, and then we check off something that counts towards our total load.
Got it. So, what page is that on? Because I have when in the planning engagement section on 148, it kind of goes to item loads out and describes that in very short detail. If you can't find it right away, that's fine. Ad hoc.
It says right in the item loadout, John. It says this indicate like each player chooses their character's quote load. It
Okay.
indicates how much stuff they're carrying on the operation, but they don't have to select individual items. Just the maximum amount that they'll have access to during the action.
Perfect. Then light, medium, or heavy. Dan, Andy, Tim, and Kevin. You need to decide whether you want to go in with light gear, medium gear, or heavy gear.
Medium.
Oh, look on page 61. I need to go light if I'm going to go fast.
Okay.
I'm gonna go light.
You said page 61.
That's what I see for loadout.
There's another one on like 148 or something like that, somewhere around there.
You're fast, less conspicuous. You blend in with ordinary folk. Normal load is you look like you're ready for a tumble, and heavy, you're slower. You look like a scoundrel on a mission and ready for trouble. Nobody will speak. Again, you are boarding a ship where you're going to stand out anyways. So when it comes down to load, you all might as well just go heavy.
I'm going normal.
I was going to say, you all might as well go in heavy, just ready to go, with like heavy blasters and all of the gear that you need. There's no reason not to. You're not having to move very fast or go anywhere in particular.
Right.
Can I throw some armor?
Does having a heavy load affect any of your rolls?
Doesn't seem to.
I don't see that marked anywhere.
Would that affect my kinetics? Because that's my main thing.
I would assume just for you, yeah, probably normal or light would probably be best because of martial arts stuff. But for those of you who aren't mystics, I don't see any reason why not to. And again, my mentality on that is just Dungeons and Dragons kind of like wizards don't wear armor kind of deal. So it might be wrong, but at the same time, that's what we're going with. So larger items like heavy blasters require you to mark 2 boxes to load in order to have them on hand. But basically, you'll have a heavy load, and then throughout you're like, I need this item, and you're basically going to take load points because you don't have to tell me what you have. You just have stuff, and then you can say, I have this, and then I'm going to tell you how many points that's going to cost. If you go with a light load, you have 1 to 3 of these free kind of, I have this. If you have a normal load, it's 4 to 5, and if you have a heavy load, it's 6 to 8.
And again, having a heavy load does not affect any of your rolls or anything. It's not like D&D where you're encumbered and you can only move at half speed. Like, it just means that you'll look like you're ready for shit. And quite frankly, we're busting into a ship. Like, you should look like you're ready for shit. It doesn't mean you scramble slower. It doesn't mean you, like, you know, scrap any worse. Like, it affects the, like, look of your character.
Yeah, I'll go heavy then. That'll just mean I can definitely have armor in case we hit return fire.
The way I picture it is 1 to 3 is you're trying to look like a civilian. 4 to 5 means you're looking like, you know, standard kind of scoundrelly, and then heavy is like you look like a SWAT team dude who's ready to just like, you know, breach and clear. So yeah.
I mean, I don't know what slower means, but in this case, yeah, you definitely want normal at the bare minimum. I don't think it's going to affect your way usage.
Yeah, so I chose normal just so I can use a blaster in case I need that. I don't really think I have. Yeah, that's probably the best I could do.
I would assume slower just means that like moving around But since you're not moving anywhere besides inside of that ship, it's not going to be a massive deal. I mean, like running across like a street or like moving after someone, giving chase is going to be harder if you're in heavy gear. But since they're inside of a ship and you're inside that same ship, it's going to be harder for them to kind of outpace you.
Okay. As long as I'm able to do that skill, which is like my base skill, which is I can move across the size of a large room in a blur, kind of a thing.
Yeah, I'd say that's fine. But I'd say for weapons and gear, you're probably not going to be the guy, so you don't have to go in looking like a badass SWAT team member.
I mean, I think I'm going to carry a blaster, and I have a sword, like a melee weapon.
Okay. Yeah, and if everyone else is going heavy, they can use their free, like, I have the thing kind of actions to have it instead of you.
Yeah.
So light or normal.
No, normal.
Normal for the mystic, heavy for the engineer. What about Mo?
Mo's going normal. He's going to use armor, though. I don't know what that would look like, but
Okay.
it's option.
Yes, it's not heavy armor or anything, just standard fare. And then what about Dan?
I'll go ahead.
Heavy. 2 heavies, 2 normals. Okay. So those are decided. Alright, so then we go to the engagement roll, which we've discussed. You have +3 dice, and then it's 1 dice base, so 4, and you were planning on spending a gambit, is that right?
Yeah.
That's what we said.
So total of
5 dice.
5 dice. Now that being said, if you want to, since this is a team dice roll, you can all try and vote for one specific nominee to be the dice roller, or you can each roll 1 dice if you prefer. Except for one of you, which one of you would have to be the one that doesn't.
I say everyone but me rolls.
To say maybe you roll.
Thank you for laughing, John.
So I can't be blamed for this shit. Okay,
Just the doctor, man.
Well, we're all rolling ourselves, all right.
let's see that roll.
I got a 5.
Come on, get sick.
Man, you guys are so good with the rolls.
Well,
1,
yes,
2,
there's
3,
a-
4, 5.
What did
Hey,
that roll?
I rolled a 4. That's on the same level as you.
Okay, so 4 to
Wait a
5.
second. Did Dan roll?
3 1s, a 4, and a 5.
Oh, wow. Okay, 5 and a 4
That's
aren't
what I
bad.
said.
I'm gonna nominate just one person next time.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and cut forward just to make sure. So engagement-wise, 4 of you are actually engaging. The other 2 of you are basically just in light. You're not really going to be up-armored or anything, but you're basically in station to. You're prepared to. Vieva,
If it hits the fan, we're there to try to bail it out.
But is Vieva on engines or is Vieva on tactical?
I mean, to start off with, I'd probably say he should be on tactical and move to engines basically if we have issues.
Okay. That sound good for you, Zach?
Yeah, I'm happy to do as the captain of the ship deems.
Okay.
I'm just the pilot, I'm not the captain.
No, got no
Alright.
captain.
Fine, I'll do what the driver says.
There you go.
So, as you kind of are sitting there, you open up the back port, and Dan's not even here, but Runt basically heads the helm, pilots the shuttle back out of the ship as the 2 crafts are kind of coming into your kind of area. The job is going off smoothly. As your ship kind of comes out and starts to move towards the luxury ship, and starts heading that way, you can see that it's basically getting into the point where it's about to kind of ground and connect to it. It's at this point, as it's about to connect with the luxury ship, literally the moment it's like literally coming down on it, you 2 on-side ship on the Dinta designate a ping. And you would note that your ship, not so much the shuttle, has been designated as being marked. You are known, and the frigate is the one that has basically secured this ping. So, with the result of 4 to 5, you start off in kind of a risky position. not the greatest position, and kind of having your ship connected to a rock being found out is not good. So that being said, we'll go ahead and start with the engagement. Dan walked away. Dan's kind of the first step in the equation. Not much of a roll is necessary helm-wise, but it isn't a smooth. It's not going to be a smooth situation. Actually, with the way that the setup is going and you haven't been found out, I would say it is flawless. No rolls necessary for the connection. It's a pretty typical thing. Hold on a second here. Let me change from snore music. Let's get some action music going. Yeah.
Daft Punk.
I wish. And
Not banned anymore though, right? That's essentially copyright free.
all right. So the ship comes down. You can feel the grav connectors lock on, and then you can hear the sound of like the scraping and burning as the accessor port kind of connects to the hull of the ship and connects down through it. Since Dan isn't here to give any insight as to this, I'm going to ask the other three members. Oh, there's Dan. Hey, Dan.
Sorry.
It's okay. I didn't know where you disappeared to because I wasn't looking at you the whole time. You're piloting the ship. No helm rolls necessary, but the ship that you're looking at, if you're familiar with Star Wars, think of the silver ship that Queen Amidala flies in the Phantom Menace. That's kind of what we're looking at. Do you want to land on the top of it? Do you want to land on the underside of it? Do you want to land on like the sides? How do you want to connect with it? The main place that would be kind of most easiest is kind of the back end.
I'd probably try and like park underneath of it, or at least hidden in wall.
Okay. So, great. As you kind of lock underneath it, you can hear, like I said, the connectors kind of boring through their ship. And those of you who are in the back, it would be Dan up front on the pilot side. Who's in the two back seats?
Mo could be in the two back seats.
Potentially the other one's tactical, you said?
Yeah, the other side would be tactical on this.
I'd probably be next to Dan only because since I'm a pilot too, I could potentially then help assist in anything.
Sure. So
Yeah,
then
I'm fine sitting next to Mo.
Mo and Kane are in the back. So you would turn around, you'd basically be getting up out of the chair, and you'd basically be hearing it. You can see that there are three lights kind of above that terminal. The third light you would know is a button that needs to be slammed to activate it, and that opens the airlock, the connector. The first light is kind of blaring kind of green. You can kind of see it kind of flashing a little bit, and then after a little bit it snaps cold. The light beneath it snaps green, which means that the connection has been secured and that the air connection is sound. That being said, button press to open it up and move through it if you'd like.
Please stay here.
Yeah, the only thing you would know that is when you enter that ship, gravity here is kind of down, but gravity for that ship will be upside down. So when you jump down and you're falling feet first, you'll basically be kind of coming up and then landing. So you kind of have to do that.
Kane launches himself out and does a graceful flip around and lands the right way.
Slams the button, drops through, pops up onto the other side. As you kind of land in that position, you realize you're kind of in a room that's not too dissimilar from your engine room, but much tighter, much more confined space. The behind you, there's no doors or anything. It seems like it's kind of just a sheet kind of metal behind you, which you assume is the back section of the ship. And directly in front of you, there is a door, and you can see that the door is currently highlighted with a red light, which means that there's some sort of indicator that the ship is aware that it's being boarded. A red alert, if you will.
Mm-hmm. He's gonna sort of drop down to his knees and wait for the others to exit the other ship.
Okay. Mo, do you follow in suit?
Mo would follow suit, but a lot less like dexterous. He'd be like all, a big hairball rolling around and bouncing and coming to a stop.
Okay. So as you kind of hit and kind of spill out onto the floor, the door opens up between the two, or out in front of the two of you. You can see that an individual dressed in hegemonic kind of trooper attire sees you with weapon kind of pointed up towards you. Looks like there's a couple of cat corners kind of moved behind, but basically at this point we're starting an engagement, or starting an actual we're in the scene, so we're just going to action rolls. What would the two of you like to do in response?
So one more time, what is the trooper doing?
Basically, door popped open. He's by himself, and he's got a blaster in hand. Looks like he's getting ready to kind of shoot into the fray to find out.
So the door is open behind him?
The door opens in front of him, so he's kind of coming into the room to check it out.
Is Mo in the room at this point?
Yeah, kind of rolling around on the ground, but...
Is there a back way around, or am I in a corner and I'm stuck?
So you're not so much in a corner. There's so you're in an engine room. There are a couple of left and right paths, and then the door is directly in front of you. And so he's standing in the doorway. You could kind of hide for cover, dash off to the sides if you want, and kind of hide away from him, or you can, move on him directly.
I understand. So Kane would say, "Mo, get him," and then Kane would disappear down the side on the left-hand side.
Okay. Perfect. Make a skulk roll, I believe it is.
Okay.
And Mo, you're kind of on the ground, but definitely within pouncing distance. Do you want to try and quote-unquote get him?
Yeah, he would go.
Control roll. What's the controlled state?
I prefer to do so I'm not necessarily, I know I'm seen. I don't want to disappear so much as move quickly, so I want to do scramble. Is that all right?
So, yeah, that's fine.
And then is it risky?
Oh, so we're doing it wrong again. I did it wrong again. Hold on a second. Sorry. Let's start over. I'm a bad storyteller. First off, you said what you wanted to do with your action. The other thing you have to do after you stay that we need to discuss it in course. Andy, you said you wanted to use scramble, right?
Yep.
Okay. So basically, this is a non-action for me. Thinking about it, you're going to be able to move. There's nothing that's really inhibiting you from doing so since Mo's course of action is happening.
Right, and my goal is to try to potentially get around after Mo is doing his thing.
Yep, not a problem. So we don't need to worry about that. We're going to move to Mo, who's the real situation here. Mo is going to get him. And the roll you want to use for that, Kevin, is...
Yeah, I'm going to use scrap. I'm basically going to dive right for him and just basically try to rip him up. Punch him, grab him, all like good monsters do.
You're catching him off guard, so you definitely have a situation that's advantageous to you. I'm trying to find the rules. I need to get these pages marked out.
Controlled risk is desperate for his starting position.
Controlled would be the situation, and then for the result, the best one, gripped. Basically, he's caught off guard, surprise attack.
So he could take so Kevin Mo could take a stress, right? Or he could take a devil's gambit. Is that right?
Yeah, those are options, and he can also use a gambit. These are options he can elect to do. But based on what we have right now, he will be rolling for great effect in a controlled situation.
So, all right. So you said it was great effect?
Correct.
All right. I'll just roll. I'll roll normal. Which how many dice is that then? It'd be 2. For
just a regular scrap roll.
Scrap. All right.
Yeah, just
Kevin.
click scrap.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I looked. There was a 6 in there.
Okay. Yeah, 6 is effect. So you are defeating him. Do you want me to tell you how that happens, or do you want to tell me how that happens?
Right. I think in this situation, Mo is a monster, but he's not going to tear the guy apart. He's basically going to hurt him enough that he's not going to be moving anytime while we're in here. So he basically just punches him and scratches him and stuff pretty bad, and then just leaves him laying there.
I would say you kind of rush over to him, and since you're kind of massive, you see him kind of trying to raise the weapon. You kind of smack it aside, grab a hold of his shoulders, lift him head first into the ceiling, and then just let him topple to the ground. Just blop, done. If you're knocking,
He goes all like limp and like a ragamuffin thing.
Ragdoll.
Right
So
off.
then you see Kane sort of zip around the corner and says, "Nice job, Mo. Let's move him off to the side." And I grab his wet blaster.
Okay. Meanwhile, Runt and Quinn are descending as well.
Yeah, being used to spaceships and all that, being with the Starsmiths Guild originally, very, very just kind of matter of fact, jump in and like plop over, like I'm used to this, nothing fancy. And then upon entering the luxury liner, I immediately look for any kind of computer terminal.
You're in the engine room, so you very quickly see a couple of terminals that are not too dissimilar. It does look like the Starsmiths Guild put this ship together, and it's very similar consoles to yours, except they're really nice comparatively. Basically, it's like you've got decent, tolerable gaming rig, and they've got like Elite Roxors and Divoxors gaming rig.
What I wouldn't do to get some of this on our ship. I if possible, I would try to to initiate a hack to cut off comms so that they can't alert seek the system to see and potentially shut off comms to prevent distress signals to the front.
Since you're in the engine room, okay, so just to make sure, the action is you're trying to cut off the communications, make it so the luxury liner cannot communicate with the frigate. That's the goal. The action you're wanting to use is hack. I would say since you're in the engine room and basically have access to their computer console and it's in your hands, you have a controlled situation, but I'm going to say that it'd be the medium or the normal effect, just standard. So that being said, you decide whether you want to do a gambit, what have you.
I'll definitely push myself for greater effect.
Okay, so we're at a great effect, controlled great effect.
And then for one of my load, I'm gonna call on using the fine hacking rig.
Okay.
Did having a fine hacking rig do anything for that?
I would say it would have shifted kind of from a control to higher, but in this state, I think what I'll allow it, just ad hoc, is +1 dice.
So yeah, I don't think I want to do devil's bargain just yet, and I don't think it's worth a gambit.
Okay.
So yeah, all right.
So control great +1 dice. And 1 stress for you. Let me see that roll.
And there's 2 bonus dice, right? 1 for fine hacking tools. No, I'm pushing myself for effect,
Yep.
and then +1 dice from fine.
Correct. +1 dice, controlled great. Is that with the +1 dice?
Yeah, I only have a 1 in hack. I didn't realize that was
Okay, so you realize very quickly that you're able to kind of shut off communications, but what you do denote is that if they weren't certain that someone was down here in the first place, they are now certain that someone is here as well. And then you watch as it looks like controls are basically being blocked throughout the system. So you shut off the communications, but in response to that, like the system blocks you out and blocks everything else out as well.
All right, guys, I shut down comms, but they definitely know we're here now, so get ready for some action.
Runt, you kind of enter in matter-of-factly. You can see that he's moving over to the console. It looks like Mo and Kane are basically moving towards the door, where you see a knocked unconscious guard.
Kane would hand the blaster to Runt from the guard.
It's standard issue. It's not as good as what you've got.
I have mine. You can use it.
I have one that I brought with me. I'm not sure if you need an extra, or we could just leave it here.
Who I was coming. Like beside him. His hip. He's got his Krieger, his pistol in his hand. He's got. I mean.
You need this
All right, you're locked and loaded.
You need this wonky stormtrooper blaster? No. Not even once. But that said, I'm kind of letting you decide who the leader of the group is, but I was making sure that Runt knows their position. Do you want to move in?
Kane would say to Quinn, you have the schematics of the ship?
Nope.
I don't think Tim heard
John,
me.
Sorry.
out of curiosity, since I knew like a basic outline of the ship, could I have at least done what a general outline would look like
Yeah.
without any rough details, or like without any hard details?
Engines in the back, staffing and quarters in the middle, and piloting and such in the front. Not too dissimilar from where you're at, because it looks like it was a Starsmith Guild ship as well.
I like the
Similar
setup.
layout to ours.
Sorry,
Keep
Dan.
moving forward. We'll find their quarters there.
Dan, what were you saying?
I imagine I would have like some so obviously we enter
You're in.
we enter ships like this.
Yep.
So there has to be some means of a way that I can set up like a camera or something to let me know if our point of
So
leaving is being compromised, right?
basically, what you would know is not terribly necessary. You entered into the shuttle. The shuttlecraft can, only really be boarded or controlled by you at this stage because you've been allowed control of it. You've entered into their ship. The only thing behind you is a wall and then space, and the only thing in front of you is more ship. So basically, you're literally French pressing this bitch. You're moving from the back of the ship forward. So not necessary.
Okay, cool. It's good to know.
Yeah, Mo would go first if you guys want. I mean, he could just go for it first and basically, chew up whoever's in our way.
Yeah, using Mo as kind of like a forward platform and kind of utilizing him as kind of cover. That's great. Quinn, I assume you're staying back with the hacking because that's what you're doing, and they're moving forward. As you kind of enter into the quarters area, you see two more troopers kind of popping out of cover, kind of looking out at you, and then kind of snapping back into cover, and you hear the telltale sounds of the trooper sounds. It sounds like the I can't remember the name of the faction in Half-Life 2, but the starts with the C. What is it?
Fine.
Yeah, the Combine. It sounds like their headsets when they talk. It's like as they're talking to each other. You know that they're probably communicating with people further up the ship. You do also see at that moment the door in between, or the door that leads further into the ship, further towards the front, closes, and the red lights that are kind of going around it stop and become solid instead of flashing, which designates it's a locked door now. That said, there's two guys that are kind of holding their position defensively. What would you, for three, like to do?
Are they within rushing distance? Like, if I rushed up on them, would they get one shot off or something maybe, or is it like I'm gonna get destroyed because I'm so far away?
So they're in tight quarters. That's based on the roll. So if you roll really bad, I'm probably going to shoot you. If you roll good but not good enough, I'm probably going to shoot you and you're going to do the cool thing. And if you roll really good, then they're probably going to be caught off guards and it's going to take them. So that's how that works. So it looks like they're in defensive positions. It's not an action-to-action beat. It's based on the rules that you're trying to go with. So what I'm saying is what is your goal? What do you want to do? What are you invested in trying to engage with here? So that being said, we'll go ahead and lead with Kevin because he asked the first question. Sounds like that's what you want to do, is rush forward, grab one of them, and start bashing them against a wall. Is that right?
Yeah, that's like my MO, and there's an E in there too. I would charge person, and then what I figure is everybody else will take care of the other guy.
Yeah.
Quinn or Runt will blow the crap out of the other guy, or Kane or whatever. We'll get that other guy.
So left or right?
I think right.
Okay. And I'm assuming that based on the action choice, your skill roll is going to be scrap again?
Yeah, scrap. This time I think I'll take some stress because I want to make sure I get a good roll on it.
Okay, so this is definitely a change of position because these guys were looking out for you. This is a risky action that you're taking, but standard effect. That's still just a hegemonic trooper. You are going to be able to mash and bash. That being said, do you want to do anything to augment?
Yeah, if I do, 1 or 2 stress to change the effect?
Yeah, so you can increase the effect from standard to great effect.
Yeah, I'd like to do. What is it? 1 stress or 2 though? I can't remember.
2, right?
You to push yourself. 1 is if you assist someone.
Yeah. So pushing is 2.
Okay, so yeah, I'll push myself, and you said it becomes a great effect.
Yeah, it would move to great effect.
All right, so here I'll go and do my roll here.
Go with it.
Wait, do I get any bonus die on that? Yeah, I do get 1, don't I? 'Cause
Uh,
I push
Because
myself.
of the stress.
No. You don't get 1 because
Oh.
you push for effect. You didn't push for dice. You can push for dice and get a
Oh,
standard
oh, oh.
effect. So you get better roll, but it may not be. Okay, standard effect is going to do what you said, and that's it if you get a 6. Great effect is going to do what you said plus something if you get it.
Yeah, I think I'll do for dice. I'll do stress for dice.
Okay.
Sorry
So-
about that. I messed that up.
Plus 1 dice, and we're looking at a risky standard effect. I feel myself getting better at this.
You are.
Nice,
Yes!
nice job.
I crushed it.
Mo immediately rushes towards the side that he was heading towards. You see kind of the red blur kind of rush forward, Fur bolting over that way. You see the shot kind of come up, and the blaster kind of and kind of hit against the hull, not even close to where it needed to be to fire at this massive beast of fur. He rushes in, kind of hits the weapon away, rushes in and grabs the waist again. You see him lift him up, slam him against the ceiling, and then bash him against the wall that he was hiding behind. Meanwhile, the other guy on the other side is still holding that position. The other 2 party members who are in this hallway, what actions are you engaging in?
Real quick, John, do we get a gambit for each time we roll 6?
Yeah, so you should have 2 more right now. So we're looking at a total of 4.
Guys.
You guys are killing
I would want to take advantage of kind of the momentum
Okay.
that was created, and then I would push forward, like trying to gain footing, like in the hallway,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe just not like trying to cover fire, but like keep them pinned so we can charge forward,
Okay.
right? But I want to shoot at them if I can hit them.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So you're basically laying kind of like a heat of like blaster fire in their direction, hoping to take them out, or at worst, force them back into their hole. Okay. So what action type do you want to use for that? Scrap, it sounds like.
Scrap.
Okay. And that being said, I'm going to say it's currently at a not so much risky because of the situation happening with Mo. I'm going to say it's going to be, I keep on forgetting what the middle one for position is, what the middle one for position, and I'd say standard effect. So do you want to push, spend gambits, devil's bargain?
It was controlled.
No, not controlled. What's the one below that?
Is it limited?
No, risky. Sorry. Yeah, it would be risky.
Yeah, you got risky, controlled, or desperate.
Risky is standard. Sorry. That's what I keep forgetting. Desperate is the one that's bad. Risky is what I want. Yes.
And standard.
Risky standard. Yep.
And then I would devil's gambit for bonus die.
Well, you can just regular gambit because you have 4 of them. You don't have to give me any bonuses to mess with you. Okay. So gambit. So you have +1 dice. So go ahead and roll scrapple with +1 dice and the risky standard.
That's good though.
All right. So you kind of snap to it. You can see Mo kind of, and you kind of bring in the shot and kind of fire down range. The guy who was kind of turning his attention towards Mo slightly kind of snaps, and you kind of see his attention snap to you, and you're both basically staring down the barrel at each other. He fires down range at you, which causes you kind of to duck down and kind of move into a situation that isn't advantageous. But you manage to hit kind of around him and a bit of him. But you see him kind of tuck into cover, and with that one shot, he kind of forced you into like getting into cover as well. You're basically on the same kind of side of the ship, like the same kind of section. He's hiding behind a wall, and you're kind of using that same wall as cover, kind of hoping he doesn't come out where you were kind of standing out in the middle before. That make sense? But you're pretty sure you got a hit on him. You don't think you killed him though. Moving along, Andy.
Yep. So this is one straight hallway?
Yeah, with a couple of doors on the side, but it looks like these are like crew quarters or like rooms.
Yeah,
that-
yeah. So I guess when I see the shot go and I see it hit the trooper, and he sort of falls back a little bit, I want to try to wall run and basically use the momentum of the force, the kinetics, to knock him over.
Okay, so you're basically going to run around the wall, jump around, and kind of snap kick on him.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Basically, because he's been put into a corner and he's basically tucked in, that's a controlled situation. Oh, sorry, rewind. That's what you want to do. We got the goal intended. What
Yep.
action type are you utilizing? Sounds like scrap.
I'm gonna use scrap.
Okay. So cool. Controlled and standard effect.
Okay, I'm going to use one gambit.
Okay. Go ahead and roll.
And so, does that automatically put the extra die in there?
You should be. When you roll it, it should ask you, and you put the one. Because it does pop-ups anytime you click to roll, right?
And the effect is standard?
Yeah, so it's going to be controlled standard.
I got it.
+1 dice for gambit.
Okay, 4, 4, 5.
So as you kind of snap around, kind of jump around the corner and bring up the kick, you can kind of see that he's kind of moved himself into a wounded animal in a corner kind of stance. He's got the weapon pointed up, and blaster shot goes firing up. It skims across your shoulder, and your foot comes in towards his head. As you kind of hit, you can kind of hear like a loud pop, which you're pretty sure is his head kind of ringing like a bell inside the helmet as he kind of flies towards the ground, ass over tea kettle, or ass over falling down. But you kind of have a burn mark. You'll take 1 harm.
Okay.
But the two
Tass over key tettle.
Tass over key. the two individuals are down.
Where do you mark harm on the sheet?
Should be something that someone else can tell you.
No,
Okay.
there, on the left side, there's like the information for your character, then stress, then below that is harm. So in like the one box, you should just be able to write like burn mark.
Got it. Thanks.
All right.
Guess what, guys? I should have got 2 extra dice in those last 2 rolls, 1 each, because of my my thing on my character. You get extra dice when I do a melee attack, so I just didn't know.
Noted. But real quick, scene-wise, basically, real quick rewind. Mo rushes in, grabs the guy, slams him against the walls, kind of takes a couple of shots, puts the guy in cover. As Kane's kind of rushing around the wall, does like a spiral kind of tsunami kick, snapping the guy in the head with blaster fire kind of cutting into him. The scene drops out the second that guy kind of hits the ground. Think of like the Matrix, Keanu Reeves landing the triple kick, yeah. And then we cut to the ship. As we kind of come back to the ship, and Flynn's kind of sitting there, looking down at navigation, the Urbots on it, and looking down at tactical with Maeva on it, you kind of look over to like the heads-up display, and you can see that the frigate is slowly turning about, and it seems like it's getting ready to put its coherence cannon pointed straight down the barrel at you guys. So with that being said, Flynn, you're in this engagement, you're in this action time, you're definitely on the job. What would you like to do in response? You're pretty sure the rock that you're attached to will be obliterated by the coherence cannon with the pretty sizable chunk of your ship.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine probably one of the best things to do is, get off the rock.
Okay, so we want to do some crazy flying, is that right?
Yeah, I want to, you said this basically like imagine Star Wars
Yep.
sort of asteroid belt as opposed to realistic asteroid belt. So I want to basically what I'd like to try to do is detach and see if I can either rotate around this asteroid to be slightly behind it or rotate up to like a nearby asteroid. I'm basically just trying to like
Move and hop.
yeah, I want to move and hop and keep things in between me and the frigate.
Sounds good.
basically.
And I'm assuming the action for this will be helm.
Yeah, I think so. I was thinking potentially it could be scramble, but I don't have anything in scramble, so I'd prefer helm.
Okay, yeah, you're controlling the ship. So this is controlled action. You're acting on your terms. You are aware that the craft is turning about. I would say it would be for standard effect. So go ahead and with those, decide whether or not you want to spend one of the 3 gambits remaining. Devil's Bargain, any other abilities that take precedent.
Can I use the tactical computer to assist him by I don't know, like shooting some of the nearby asteroids and creating more debris to cover his like movement?
Yeah, that sounds great. Very, very solid play. So you have +1 dice for the assist, +1 stress for you, Zach.
Yeah, I was going to push myself also. So
Are you pushing for effect? Or are you pushing for dice?
give me 1 second.
You could use a gambit too. I mean, we got 3 of them.
I'd say
So
we
really
use a
quickly,
gambit.
for I
We
can
only
use
have
that too.
one
But
gambit
for Ace Pilot, I have for the starting ability, I have Ace Pilot. You have potency on all speed-related rolls when you roll to resist the consequences of piloting. Okay, I don't think that applies right now. So yeah, I'm going to push myself for effect, and yeah, let's use one of the gambits.
Okay. So you have +2 dice, and we're going for great effect. Go ahead and roll it.
And you said this is risky?
No. This is controlled.
Oh, controlled. Okay.
You know it's happening. You can see it
bad.
coming.
So controlled, great, and +2 dice.
Mm-hmm.
4.
Okay. So you basically pull off of the rock. You can see that Vieva kind of throws their hands across the console. You can see the 2 front kind of blaster rifles that are kind of slotted on the wings of the ship start detonating against the rocks as you pull away. This creates a nice kind of spray of kind of debris. The ship lifts up, kind of starts flying upwards, but you can see on navigation, and the Urbot goes, they are definitely locked on to us. As you kind of start flying upwards, you can feel that like it's definitely got its beat on you. I'd say about 3, maybe 4 seconds after you kind of move away from that rock, you can hear, and when I say hear, I mean more or less feel, because there's really no sound happening here, but it resonates inside the ship. The detonation of the coherence cannon hitting the rock you were just on. On the tactical display, what you're witnessing is that rock that was there and you're kind of looking at and was formerly targeted by your blasters is no longer on the grid. For those watching the TV show version of this, what you see is the frigate kind of turning, the cannon kind of locked on the top portion of the frigate, pointing down straight at it, firing, hitting the rock, and just obliterating space and existence at that point, and causing that rock to just disappear. You manage to fly upwards, but it feels like there's less kind of space in this area than you were hoping for, and you feel like you're kind of out in the open a bit at this point. So moving forward, you'll no longer be in a controlled position. You're kind of dropping down into a more risky scenario. Snapping back from that kind of grouping, since you both kind of worked together on that action, well played. Back inside of the luxury liner, the 4 of you three of you. Quinn, you're done with the hacking. You're locked out. Do you want to try and advance to catch up with the rest of the group? Muted.
I seek to advance to where the rest of the crew is.
Okay.
And if we're in the crew quarters now, I look to see, are there any doors locked?
So I would say for flavor purposes, you kind of enter in the door, and you can kind of see Kane kind of like stepping back from the knocked over guard, and Mo just dropping down the other guy. You look to the other crew quarters, and you can see that they're all open. No one is currently inside of any of the doors or subspaces that are present here.
We're a bunch of professionals. Let's keep pushing forward.
All right. The door that you kind of move up to as you're kind of seeing them kind of moving about, you can see the telltale signs that the red beam lights are marking it as a locked door.
I'm going, if possible, I'd like to bypass that door. I would think what might make most sense is by trying to hack it.
So there aren't any consoles or anything like that. This is more of a like technical kind of thing. You are rigging the door, I would say, but you could. Sorry, my D&D mentality. Do you want to try and hack it, or do you want to try and rig it?
Okay, so I could potentially gain access to actuators to disable them and force the door open.
Yeah. Or you could try and hack it. You could find controls, like sub-controls, inside of like a slotted box and do that. Both are options. My D&D mentality was trying to force you into a skill. That's not what I should be doing. I should be asking you what skill you want to use.
No, I would say that if I saw a way to do a more mechanical-based action as opposed to a computer-type action, I'd probably go for that.
Dope. So ring is the action you choose to try and get through the door in a technical manner. All right. That being said, I would say you are in a risky position. Not so much for damage or anything like that, but possibly causing subroutines to, you know, lock down more fully. And then I would say standard effect.
Okay. And then for 2 more of my load, would find ship repair tools be have different things in there that I could use for this?
Yeah, I would say that would shift the effect from standard to great.
Okay. And then I'll push myself as well.
Okay. Pushing for dice. Because there's no effect left.
Yeah. I'll push him for dice.
Okay. And do you want to spend one of the 2 remaining gambits?
You cool with me? From what I gather, we only have 1 gambit left. Because I think that you reset to 1 at the start of any mission.
Yeah, but I gave you one.
We used it on the engagement roll.
Yeah, but you rolled a 6 in the engagement roll, didn't you?
No, we rolled a 5. That's why we had the guys know where
Okay.
to begin.
We rolled a 6 in one of the scraps from Mo.
2 of the
No, I rolled
scraps.
2
2 of the
scraps.
No,
scraps.
I rolled
two of
26.
We've been using them though.
Yeah.
I've been tracking them, so we only have 1 left.
Okay.
Hmm.
Hey, I'm not going to
Cool with
fight
me
you.
using it, guys?
Is that including the 2 that we started off with?
Started off with
We'll start
1.
with 1.
Oh, we started off with 1. Okay.
And
But
we got
Dan-
1 from
but-
the joke we haven't used, and then we got 2
I
from
don't
Kevin's
know.
roll.
All I would say, Tim, is if you can't use it, like if you can't get the door down, I could actually tear it down. I have like superhuman strength. So I mean, go ahead. But if you use it, that's fine. But even if you don't get it, I could probably try to tear the door
There
down.
are secondary
That's probably
options.
one of the abilities.
Right. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm gonna get 4 dice with this then, so hopefully we have a good chance of succeeding.
Okay.
And we got a 6, so we get it back.
All right. So you kind of look around and you kind of pull out a tool, which is like a massive kind of spanner. You kind of hit console and kind of just start tearing the panel down. And once it's out, you kind of look inside, kind of reach in with 2 different tools, and you can kind of hear like buzz zapping kind of sounds, and then a loud kind of clunk as he pulls one of the tools backwards. The second that happens, the door's lights turn off, and you kind of look at it and go, huh. And
Neat.
what you realize is the door is unlocked, but the door's gear mechanism for it sliding open and closed isn't going to work. So you kind of need to lift it. And who would you ask to do that?
No, if you'd be so kind, the store needs your assistance.
And then I'd grab it with my 2 huge arms and just
It's not a
pull it
problem.
out.
It's genuinely not a problem. You reach down. There's plenty of like handholds on this thing. It's like more of a sci-fi door than like a Star Trek door, and you kind of slide it up. Once you do so, you see 1 guard and 1 guy in kind of a white suit, kind of standing there holding a blaster pistol in hand. And when the door opens, they kind of point them at you and say, "I don't know who you are, but you're under arrest," says the guy in the white suit, on orders of the Justicar.
All right, I'm gonna grab his hand and crush it so badly
Well,
that the
Real quick,
actual thing.
for the door openers, we're going to slide to the side. We've got Brunt and Kane, who are kind of engaging. They're not messing with the door. So the 2 of you can operate first.
Runt and Kane.
Yeah. Whichever.
So
Yeah.
the person that says that to Mo, what does he look like?
He's wearing kind of like a white uniform. With
Different than the troopers?
different than the troopers. So the troopers are wearing armor. This guy's kind of wearing a white uniform with kind of like gold shoulders. I don't know what those are called off the top of my head, but fancy shoulders.
Yeah. Epaulets or
That's it. Epaulette's the word that I was looking for. Yeah, he looks just like the guy you're supposed to be capturing.
Does he look like he's associated with the Justicar at all?
No?
Okay. Is there a thing where I could use my kinetics to blur my face?
Yeah. No problem. No rules for that. So basically, you kind of take the second to kind of back away behind Mo, and then kind of reach back out as you're kind of using the way to kind of transmute. Those of you who are looking at Kane, you can see like the shift in the way, the inverting color cycle, and kind of like a weird kind of distortion pattern. Like someone put up color filters and inverted the colors.
Cool.
Brunt, this guy says you're under arrest, order of the Justicar. The guy standing next to him, the trooper, looks like a bit more of a threat. What would you like to do?
So I want to take a shot at the gun.
The pistol that the guy's holding, or the trooper's gun?
The one that's like ready to shoot.
Okay, that'd be the trooper then. Okay, so what action type are you utilizing here? Probably scrap.
Most likely. I mean, I don't think there's any other combat-based ones, are there? If I'm trying.
Well, any action can be used to, like, if you wanted to go and secure the weapon away from him. I mean, yeah, that'd probably still be scrap.
I'm gonna scrap.
Scrap it is. I would say you are in a risky situation, and standard effect.
And you said effects.
Risky standard.
And I'm gonna push myself
For dice or effect.
for a dice.
Okay.
Nice.
All right. Okay. So you kind of raise the weapon up, your weapon, and it's kind of up anyways. But as they're kind of talking, you very quickly kind of snap it up in like a pop shot and take the shot. No scope, just bam, right there. Hit his blaster. You watch as it kind of splits in the middle. He's still holding the handle, and the portion in his other hand kind of flies out of it with like a loud pop. The second that happens, the ambassador type, the envoy, looks like he's kind of lifting his blaster up in response. Mo and Quinn, you're kind of in the doorwell as this is happening. Looks like your mystic's kind of hiding a bit, and Runt is still engaged with fight time. What would the two of you like to do?
Well, Mo. Oh, you can go first if you want.
Yeah, if actually you go first. I have probably something non-combat related I'm gonna ask about.
Before you do, are we keeping track of these gambits? So we just got another one, right?
You have one total.
I am. We now have 2 total because I regained the one I rolled.
And then he just gained one without spending one, right?
Right, so we have 2 total now.
Cool.
All right. Well, you can guess what Mo's gonna do.
Rush
He's gonna
forward.
charge straight forward and scrap the crap out of the guy.
So we're talking about scrapping the envoy, the guy with the blaster, right?
Yeah, like what I would like to do, since he's pointing the blaster at me, which is very rude, I would like to grab his hand with the blaster and crush it, and then grab his neck with the other hand and like lift him up, but don't kill him. Just like hold him there in pain.
Got it. Because he's pointing a gun at you, it is a desperate situation, and he's specifically pointing it kind of in your direction. So this is a desperate situation, and I would say standard effect.
The greatest thing is, I found out that I have the Wrecking Crew thing, which means, like, if I use a gambit, I get an extra effect, which I'm not going to use a gambit, I don't think, but I do get an extra +1 dice whenever I do a melee attack. So that's kind of a cool.
Sounds good.
All right, so I got to go to scrap. Hang on. The weird part about this is you said it's risky, right?
It is desperate.
Okay, it's desperate, and what after that? Standard or limited or great or extreme?
No, this is for the
Attack.
so when it comes to it, it's position and effect, and so your position is desperate.
And then what's the effect? Standard?
Standard, yeah.
All right. So then I get one extra die because it's in melee.
And a quick note for desperate rolls. If rolls of a 6 do not get you a gambit back. So, quick note there.
But you do mark XP for this.
Yeah.
Ooh, but I rolled horrible, but I do get a mark XP anyways?
Yeah, I don't think it matters what the result is.
I think you have to succeed on a desperate roll to get an effect, or get the XP.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Anyway, it was a bad roll. I rolled horribly that time, so he must have like snuck away or something.
All right. So as you kind of like start to move forward, you see him raise the blaster up towards Mo and pull the trigger. As it hits Mo square in the chest, you watch as Mo kind of falls backwards as the shot detonates square in his chest. 4 harm as he blasts you in the chest.
All right, I have a question for you. What does armor do? Because I am wearing armor this time. Last time I got shot, I wasn't. But I think it does something to reduce your harm or something. I don't know.
Let's see.
I have to test this out for you guys.
So
I'm like testing the football helmet.
Type of armor that applies to the situation, you can mark an armor box to reduce or avoid a consequence instead of rolling to resist.
Got it. Resistance rolls. Make a resistance roll to see how much stress your character suffers as a result of their resistance.
Where's that?
We're on page 35.
No, I'm saying where on the sheet is a resistance roll?
So, real quick, harm examples. 4 is a fatal shot. Just a quick note there. So you're in armor. That's important. So you'd be resisting. If you get a critical result, so you will roll a resistance roll. You make the roll using one of your character's attributes. In this case, it'll be prowess.
Oh, okay.
So you're going to make a prowess roll.
Okay.
That being
Now,
said,
what is it? Is it risky, or what is the input value and all that?
so that's not a thing here for this, is it?
I don't know.
No,
When I
it
hit
just
stress-
says bonus dice when you click it. That's
So
it.
You get one. Yeah, you'll get 1 dice for each attribute rating.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
When I get 1 bonus dice, right?
yeah.
Can I use a gambit on this?
Okay, I got it. So no, you're just gonna roll 1 dice for each attribute. There's no gambits on this.
Oh, okay. Because I definitely would if I could. This is like, you don't want to get shot.
Yep. Go ahead and roll the resistance roll. So you got a 5 is the highest. So you'll suffer 1 stress, and the armor basically kind of blasts into it. You can kind of feel like this loud kind of, and when I say feel and loud, you get what I mean. You can feel like all of the bones inside of your body kind of rattling as you are thumped to the floor, as there's now like a large kind of scorch mark on your armor plating, and if that armor wasn't there, it would have gone right through you. Pretty solid shot.
Those assholes shot your monster.
All right. So that being
Anything?
said, yeah, it would go. Well, sorry, Quinn was the next on deck because they were the door runners.
Yeah, of course.
So our big red guy just got taken out.
Bam! Shot him.
Shoot. Okay. So we're in this room. Is there any kind of like things overhead that I can like try to break or something to entangle? Like basically, I want to interrupt his ability to fire upon us.
Sure. You could. The door's still kind of latched up in its position. You could pull it down a distance, but it would only cover the top portion of you, not the bottom portion of you. Inside of the chamber, not really, no.
Okay.
Is the guy, or he kind of looks like somebody we're looking for?
He's the guy you want.
Oh, we need to just go and grab him.
That's what Mo just tried to do and got shot.
Yeah. Well,
Right, and I could try shooting his gun. I feel like that's gonna be risky or desperate for limited effect. Not doing John's job for him, but like in my
No, I
head,
already know.
that's not gonna be very good. So I'm trying to think of an out of the box way to
I mean, I have a thing. I could do something if you want to just wait.
Yeah, that's fine. You can elect to do that. That's fine.
That's up to you.
I mean, in anything, I'll just duck and cover and take a moment to look around to see, are there cameras kind of recording us right now?
Not really, no.
Good to know.
Okay, so then if we're going to shift over to Andy, you said you had something planned. Go ahead.
So I had previously kicked the head in of this other trooper,
Uh-huh.
right? I'm going to pick him up,
Okay.
and I'm going to throw him with great force at the person with the white robes and the blaster.
Okay. I would say that based on the fact that it's kind of a projectile from a vector he's expecting, this will be a desperate situation. But I'd say standard effect. It is a whole ass trooper being launched at it.
Right. So my starting ability says you can spend a gambit instead of paying any stress cost.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean exactly?
So
because
if
I
you-
could already spend a gambit.
So if you push for a greater effect, which a gambit can't get you, you can, instead of pushing for a greater effect, you can spend a gambit for greater effect. Most people don't have that as an opportunity.
So spend a gambit for greater effect, and then would I have to spend another gambit to get an extra die?
You can only spend gambit once.
Okay.
You have to push yourself for an extra die, but instead of taking the stress, pushing yourself for an extra die, you spend a gambit to get an extra die. But then you could also spend a gambit for an extra die.
Yeah, but
No.
what you have as an
No,
opportunity,
you can't do gambit twice. Oh, you can.
you can do a gambit twice?
Well, it wouldn't be a gambit, really. Wait.
No. So,
Confused.
okay, hear me out. You can spend one gambit per roll, no more, no less.
Right.
What your ability says you can do is, instead of having to push yourself to get a greater effect, you can instead spend a gambit to get greater effect. So if you don't care about the roll because you know you're going to get it, and you're that confident, because bonuses, assistance, etc., what have you, situation, etc., you can spend your gambit to make sure that it has a better result.
Got it. I'm not confident I'm going to get the roll, though, so I would want the extra die.
Then that's fine. You can push yourself for the extra die, and you can spend a gambit for the extra die.
Yeah, I'm going to do that.
And you can devil's bargain for more dice.
No, I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to get 2 extra die. I'll spend one of our gambit, and I'll push myself.
All right. So it sounds like you have
It'll be a scrap, right?
2 extra dice. I would say, since you're shunting them, throwing them, I would say that this would be the way, whatever the ability is for that.
Oh, a 2?
Well, no, sorry. You decide.
Yeah, I think it's a scrap. It doesn't matter because I have the same ability in scrap and attune.
Your call.
So I'll do scrap.
This is
and you
desperate, and it is
What's the
standard.
effects, right?
Standard.
With 2 bonus die.
Correct.
Okay.
All right.
5s.
Okay. Let's see. So we are in Desperate Town. Sorry, I gotta get back to my.
I mean, so the idea is that I'm not gonna be in the range of blaster fire because I'm throwing this body at it, at him.
I mean, you're visible, so you're in blaster fire range.
Does the qualified success, is it like either he takes harm or he has to
So
make
for a
roll?
desperate, you do it, but there's a consequence. You suffer severe harm. A serious complication occurs. So let's see. I'm gonna say. Okay, got it. So this is what happens. You pick up the body, kind of holding it in your hands. You can feel the way kind of generating through it, and you kind of shunt it forwards, throwing it straight out at the guy. As he kind of turns his attention from Mo, and now there's like a trooper body flying at him, you see his blaster kind of raise up and start shooting sporadically, and he gets hit by the body. The two of them kind of fall in a mass, but it's literally the last thing you see as the door slams down again, and you hear kind of like a loud kind of auto pop. You're not sure what that is. That'll have to be handled by someone else. But the door between you and him closes.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Okay. Cut the scene there. Perfect. Cut the scene there. The ship kind of flies up and over the kind of broken bits of rubble, trying to move to cover. The coherence cannon is kind of moving still towards to try and gain you and get a shot. So far, not yet. What would the two of you on board ship like to do as the Urbot? Ah!
As the Urbot.
It's just screaming.
Yeah. All right. So basically, I've been trying to think of like what sort of things there are. Obviously, it's an asteroid field. We are. I mean, we're just sort of like. We're a relatively thin ship-esque, but we've got the like down arrows thing. I'm trying to think, like, in terms of like proportions, like, is it a thicker ship than us, so to speak?
Very much so. So comparatively, it would be like the Millennium Falcon compared to like the medical frigates in Star Wars. So like you see those shots where in Return of the Jedi where the Falcon's kind of flying by some of the capital ships of the Rebellion. It's similar to some of the smaller, larger ships.
Yeah, so I was thinking I might want to try to like slide through a couple of like tight spaces in there and try to basically like lose them a little bit, or at least again like shake some distance between me.
Are you trying to gain? So you're trying to gain distance from the frigate, right?
I'm trying to gain distance, but I'm trying to do it more just by like I'm trying to slip through areas where they can't. Sort of like,
Okay.
a thin guy running down a tight alleyway when he's being followed by like, a monkey of a man, basically.
So, action-wise, are we skulking? Are we helming? Are we scrambling? What are we doing?
So action-wise, I'm thinking that this is going to be helm.
And Zach, are you wanting to hold off on your action, or do you want to assist?
I am gonna assist. So if he's pulling through tight spaces, my job is just to like, if I see like a corner of the ship is gonna nick something, I'm gonna pop it with the blasters and give him that extra wiggle room.
Okay. Sounds good. So +1 dice from the co-pilot, yeah.
All right, and then how many gambits do we have right now? Is it just got 2?
No, wait.
People.
No, Andy just spent one. You have one.
Andy just spent 1. Okay, so we've only got 1 left. Do people mind if I burn the last gambit for right now?
Do it.
Okay.
So +2 dice.
Right.
And sorry, I forgot to say, we are in Risky Town, and we're looking at standard effect.
Right, risky and standard. I might just chuck on. No, I'm going to hold off on the giving myself too much. Well, okay, just as a question, how does the stress mechanic work? Like, what's the limit for?
Yeah, so it should be a total of whatever is currently it should have a bar
right
on your character sheet. When that fills up, I believe it's sleepy time. Let me double check.
If you're really stressed, I just go to sleep.
That's what I do. Or Yertha Gherkin. Stress and trauma is on page 12.
Page 12.
But if you have the stress available, so yeah, that's your maximum amount of stress.
Gotcha.
Once you're there, you just can't do it anymore.
All right, so I'm going to. Why not push myself again?
Okay.
And I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that for effect again.
Okay.
So Helm, you said it's risky.
Risky standard, so it'll be risky great.
Right. Well, wait. Is it risky or is it desperate? Because you said that risky is the normal, and you said okay.
So you were in a controlled position.
Oh, right. No, I was in
before.
controlled originally. You're right.
Yeah.
My bad. Okay, so risky, great, +2 dice. 5.
1 second.
Yep. 5's not bad. It's not a 3 or a 2 or a 1, right?
Okay.
That is accurate.
So you kind of move up the ship and you kind of turn it outwards, kind of heading away. You know in your mind that the next thing that happens is you try and gain that distance no matter what. Anytime you try and excel away from something, you're making yourself a perfect target for the opposition. You can feel the bead. You can hear this chiming go. The Urbot yelling, "Ah! No, you gotta move!" And so
Crutch, shut up!
you're kind of holding it into that position, trying to get as much distance as you can. And as you kind of see the situation kind of unfolding, you realize that it's going to be a quick maneuver that's going to be needed to clear, and you can hear feel the boom of the coherence cannon behind you, hearing it evaporate parts of rocks behind you. You very narrowly escape that kind of positioning, and in doing so, you end up in a situation where you thought you were going to move into a nicer situation. You're further away and all, but what you've ended up doing is kind of making yourself a prime target for the coherence cannon, which seems to have a very large range. Moving forward, any such maneuvers or further escaping will put you in a desperate position. Okay.
This is going swimmingly.
You guys haven't died yet.
We're alive. That's.
I'm actually going to hold with you for just a little longer. So now that you're kind of moving away, you're still kind of in asteroid fields, but you've kind of got that clearing that the coherence cannon's kind of opened up, where it now kind of has a bead, and the next shot, if it has one, will be not good. That said, what would you like to do? Like, situationally, do you want to hide away from it? What's the goal? What are you trying to do at this point?
Well, running away hasn't worked, so I'm going to actually punch the cops. Yo, Doc, how do you feel about playing chicken with a frigate?
We still have that grappling hook. I can attach and we can slingshot.
I'm not going to say things because I don't want to influence your options, but
Yeah, let's do that.
So the engines we know have repulsors around them. Does the cannon?
No, wait, hold on. Oh man, I don't want to give you guys. I just had the coolest idea.
Well, the idea that you were thinking, are you trying to think of like attaching and doing like a sling maneuver to fling ourselves around? Okay.
So you said playing chicken, flying straight at it, and then as you're going, drop a grappling hook like tether and like going straight towards the cannon, and then once the cannon comes forward, pull yourself out of the line of shot so it looks like the cannon hit you, and you move inside of the space where it's not seeing you. That's just my brain. Sorry. Forget what I said. What are you planning?
Yeah, what's Zach's idea?
Oh, I don't know. You had that idea to slingshot an asteroid at the engines, but we could do that at the cannon. Like, turn around quick, I hook a grappling hook up to one of the asteroids that are there, you boost us straight at the cannon, and we, like, detach the grappling hook and launch a fucking asteroid straight down the cannon. Because, like, while the engines have repulsors on them, I don't know if the cannon is going to, and if we do it fast enough, we might be able to do it before they can fire off another shot.
Yep. Sounds like a plan.
Alright. So, who's taking the lead on this? It does sound like either one of you can, because it's kind of a dual action. One of you is going to have to assist, though.
I feel like this one's more of Zach's plan, so I'll let him take the lead and I'll assist him.
Okay. Action-wise, it sounds like scrap, but I'm not forcing your choice. What do you think it should be? Could also be a scramble. Could also be helm. Could be skulk.
Yeah, I was thinking skull potentially too.
All right.
I mean,
so I have served a lot of time with the Yaru, and I've done a lot of like co-piloting on a lot of those missions because like we usually have a main guy who did the piloting, me as a co-pilot, Mo as the scrapper. So I'm not a doctor, but I've got a lot of experience with these tactical equipment. And especially with like grappling hooks or like different things there, can I use doctor?
I will say, since it's kind of like a precision technique that we're going for here, and I like the fluff there, I'll allow it. We're going for a very precision-oriented strike, and this is going to require very specific maneuvering. Assistance is being granted from the helm. Actually, I'm going to cut that. Because you're focusing on the precision aspect, I'm not going to allow assistance in this. This is 2 action rolls that are going to be required for success. I think that's a bit more fun. So that being said, any gambits that are spent for either of you will be granted for both, but pushing will be individualistic, and if a devil's bargain is granted, it will happen for both of you.
we just used our last gambit, correct?
That's true.
Right.
Yep.
So gambit doesn't matter, but
Sorry.
I am. That's okay. I am gonna push myself for an extra die.
Yep, and he's gonna have to push.
Yep. I'm going to push 2, and I'm also going to use Skulk for this one because I'm trying to basically not let them know that I have a rock behind me.
Got it.
You know, basically like that Galaxy quest where he doesn't let them know he's got the mines behind it.
Love it. Okay. Do you want a devil's bargain up?
Do it.
I say no. I think we're good with the pushing ourselves. We don't need to roll that bargain yet. If this fails and we need to do another thing, maybe. But like, it's up to you, Matt. I'm okay with being overrode.
I'm fine with holding it off.
Okay.
Okay.
Then the both of you need to make rolls.
So, doctor, and then what position is?
Oh, sorry. Great. So since we are changing the tide of it, and basically changing the nature of the game, controlled, because the game is on your side in this point, it's definitely something that they wouldn't expect. And I would say standard effect. And the goal being knocking the cannon out.
And 1 bonus die because we're pushing ourselves.
Correct.
Ooh, I did not do so well.
Crit fail.
I, however, fucking rocked it.
You get 2 gambits for his controlled success. He rolled 2 6s and got a crit.
Anytime
So
you, anytime you roll a 6, yeah, 2. So, yeah,
We did technically have 2 crit success. I'm kidding.
granted. And you were trying to hide the rock from them.
Yeah.
In the piloting portion. I should have had them happen separately, in hindsight. Okay, learning, still learning.
It's fine.
I'm going to say what ends up happening is you kind of move the ship about, you kind of start flying straight towards them. In the meantime, you kind of snap the grappling hook back and kind of connect onto a rock, which starts to drag after you perfectly. As you start to move towards the ship, Matt, you immediately kind of have this flash in your head, like, yeah, this is a good idea. If we blow the whole thing up, this won't be a problem. Otherwise, they're logging the ship in their databases because they're staring straight at it in perfect profile. Like, you're looking at the ship. They're going to be able to ID the ship, no problem. Shit. I hope this works. And then you kind of drop the ship down, coherence cannon fires off, rock goes spiraling out over the top of it with kind of like a spin, drops down, hits onto the cannon, and you hear kind of like, well, you don't hear, but you see kind of like a large detonation as the coherence cannon seems to kind of blow up on the top portion of it. The ship then starts to lift downwards, and you can see all of the turbo laser kind of batteries on it kind of moving up. You know that you're outside of range for it, the coherence cannon being the only thing that was able to kind of target you at your distance. But you would know that the ship has not been completely destroyed. Moving in on the frigate is probably a bad idea, but based on the way the rock hit, that ship isn't going to be chasing you anytime soon, nor is it going to be firing that cannon at you anytime soon. If you want to close, you can, or you can keep your distance. Also a good idea. But it is listing and slowly trying to kind of regain its momentum and probably head back towards the frigate, or the luxury liner. Alright, cut from you folks back to the interior. Door slams shut. You hear a weird kind of popping click sound. Runt, Quinn, and Kane, you're on the outside of the door. What are the three of you trying to do?
I guess it's time to go to work on this door now.
Okay, so your worst fears are realized. It does appear that the secondary locking mechanism, the complete lockout, has been engaged. The door is shut.
Is there any kind of panel that would allow me to override?
No. Really not much that's going to drop those locks out. Basically, the only reason for those locks is if the ship breaks apart and sealing the cockpit or sealing the other side, if one of those two sections kind of rips off.
All right, our options here are try to find our way around. Maybe there's a vent shaft we can climb through to go bypass it, or I try to overheat the engines and let this place blow up like a firework.
So Quinn, you're kind of looking for situations. Kane, do you have any options?
Are there any access panels that would lead to ducts or crawl spaces, anything like that?
If that's what
Jeffrey's tube.
So you start looking around. The two of you are kind of looking for a means of entry. Brunt. Remember, you have heavy gear, so you can have things on you.
I mean, I assume this detonator that I have, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just have a
Yeah, that means explosives.
I mean, I don't see explosives, but I see a detonator.
Yeah, there's no explosives on the list, but
the-
if there's a detonator, I'm assuming there would be explosives.
The
right?
detonator is an extremely deadly explosive weapon. Fits in the palm of your hand and can be thrown. Takes care of those shielded doors that have that heavy blasters can't handle. Illegal. You shouldn't have this. No, really. That's the explanation for a detonator.
Okay.
So you just slap one on there, kind of back away from it, and
There's no other way. I mean,
Okay.
I only have one detonator.
okay. So we've got the scene. Kane, Quinn, and fucking Runt just walking up, pulling out the strap back, slapping it on there, walking away. Meanwhile, inside, Mo, and then you hear a fuck and a push and a sound of kind of armor kind of hitting the ground as you kind of, and your eyes kind of slip out from underneath your heavy head to kind of look around the room. You can see that he's getting up and he's got the blaster still in hand, and he's looking at the door. He's not really focusing on you because he thinks you're dead. What would you like to do? You can, hide and try and play dead. You can try and bum rush him again. He's not pointing at you, so it won't be a desperate situation, but...
Yeah, this is Mo we're talking about. He'll try to bum him again.
All right.
So he's gonna be like,
Risky, standard. And I'm assuming scrap is the chosen action type. Sorry,
yeah, I'll scrap.
Okay.
John, quick question. Since what level of harm was he at?
My guy? Oh,
No.
him? He negated it with a resistance
Okay,
roll.
cool. You didn't take any. Awesome.
Yeah, because force fatal, he would have been done.
Okay.
It feels like the cinematic end of the episode.
It's pretty close to it. So Kevin, we've got 2 gambits on the docket. Did you already roll?
Mo rolled a 1, 5, and 6.
Okay, so
He's
you
crushing this guy.
You rush forward, you grab his hand as you expected to do before, you twist it outwards, you could hear his thumb and wrist kind of popping as the blaster goes spiraling off to the side. As his hand cracks, almost like if on cue, you hear a loud as the door slams out from behind you. You kind of tuck inwards, grab a hold of him, and kind of barrel him down onto the console, and as that's happening, kind of Rump's popping in with weaponry. It looks like Mo has him in arms. I would say at that point, it sounds like the engagement's pretty well handled. He isn't going to resist much past that point. You strap him in irons, I assume you have them, and you rush back to the ship. Once you get there,
I would actually throw one suggestion out before we run back to the shuttle. If we think we can, should we try to send this on a crash course with the freighter? Blow up all the evidence and all the bodies, no witnesses.
If Runt still has points in his heavy loadout, he could just throw a couple more detonators in the engines, and that'd be that. If you want to do that, your idea. Sorry, I keep doing that. Dan, do you want to?
Last time I
suggesting is
something he told me to do. I was, my face was posted everywhere. They're blowing some guy's fucking head off. So yeah, let's do what this guy says.
So we can either just blow up the ship, so anyone that's still here dies.
I'm holding on to my detonators. You can blow up the ship if you want to.
or we can try to steer the ship on a crash course to the freighter, so it runs into it, maybe blowing up both.
It's got turbo laser
Still
batteries.
even more people.
So
We got our guy. I'm
couple of
getting
notes.
off the ship.
You don't know about the frigate's position, and you also would know that if you did know the frigate's position, you would know it still has turbo lasers. Nothing's getting to it.
Okay, cool. Well, they don't know. Maybe it's just trying to dock for safety.
I mean, we accomplished our purpose, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's bail. That's what. Why? What? That's it.
I'm leaving.
Okay. So yeah.
All right. So are we against blowing up the ship at all?
Why?
I don't care if you blow up
What
the
does
ship.
it do for us? Why blow it up?
If you want to better instead of negotiating, you board the ship. You're getting ready to pilot off. Kane, you get on board the ship. You're ready to pilot off.
Yeah, exactly.
Mo,
you can do what you want.
You have the prisoner in hand. You're ready to pilot off. And last but not least, Quinn, do you want to leave anything behind? Do you want to try and do anything terminal-wise, or do you want to just get on board and leave?
Yeah, it'll potentially explain the guy's disappearance. I'm gonna try and rig the engines to blow.
Okay, perfect. So you throw a couple of. Do you have any more loadout?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, just chuck.
Hey, we got a gambit.
Yeah, chuck detonators in. No roll required. You basically set the thing up with explosives and board the ship. And as the ship kind of pulls its pylon out, starts to ascend upwards, press a button. You guys see the silver ship pop, and you reestablish communications with the Dinta, and they head over in your direction. Shuttle boards into the docking port. You have the secured asset, and yeah, I would say, let's see, we can go ahead and work through the aftermath next session. Sounds like a pretty good end to the episode, like Andy said. The ship blowing up and you taking off. Okay, well, thanks for watching if you did, and we'll pick up
everybody.
next time.
Bye.